Please take your seats. The meeting is about to begin. Remember to speak into the microphone, as this meeting is being recorded for public record. Please stand by. We are going on air in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the last planning board meeting of the year, December 9 meeting. It's a pretty quick agenda, so it shouldn't be too long. I want to start with hopefully a motion from one of my panel members to approve the November 4 meeting minutes.
Motion to approve?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? Okay, go Canes, and I'll turn it over to our city attorney.
Personal privilege?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Today's meeting of the Planning Board will be conducted in a hybrid format with the board physically present in the commission chambers at Miami Beach City Hall and applicants, staff, and members of the public appearing either in person or virtually via Zoom. To participate virtually in today's meeting, the public may dial 1-877-853-5257 and enter the webinar ID, which is 861-4342-6327#, or log into the Zoom app and enter the webinar ID, which is 861-4342-6327. If you're appearing on behalf of a business, a corporation, or another person, you need to register as a lobbyist with the city clerk's office. If you haven't registered yet, you should register before you speak to the board. You don't have to register as a lobbyist if you're speaking only on behalf of yourself and not any other party, or if you're testifying as an expert witness, providing only scientific, technical, or other specialized information or testimony in this public meeting. Or if you're appearing as a representative of a neighborhood association without any compensation or reimbursement for your appearance, to express support of or opposition to any items. Expert witnesses and representatives of neighborhood associations shall, prior to appearing, disclose in writing to the city clerk their name, address, and the principal on whose behalf they're communicating. If you're an architect, attorney, or employee representing an applicant or an objector, you must register as a lobbyist. These rules apply whether you're appearing in favor of or against an item, or encouraging or arguing against its passage, defeat, modification, or continuance. Lastly, I'd like to swear in any members of the public or staff who will be testifying today. Please raise your right hands. Do you swear that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, we're going to start with requests for continuances and withdrawals. The first is Planning Board File 240731 and companion Planning Board File 250737, Lincoln Road West Residential Use Incentives.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Both of these applications, the sponsor is actually requesting that they be continued to the February 3rd meeting.
February?
Staff has no objection to the February meeting, correct.
Okay. All right, is there anyone in chambers to speak on this motion? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, any questions or someone want to move it?
Motion to approve?
I'll
To
second.
continue?
Okay, so motion to continue from
Yeah.
Shield.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, is that do you need a separate vote or can we do both of them together?
For the continuance, they can both be one.
Okay. All
one
right,
vote.
so they're both moved to February. Okay, and then Planning Board File 250739 and 0738, Lincoln Road East Residential Use Incentives. I'm assuming the same request? Okay. Anybody on this item to speak? Anyone on Zoom?
No.
Okay.
And there's also, Mr. Chair, a companion item to this one, which is Planning Board 250738.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, someone want to move it?
Motion to continue?
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, Melissa seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, so they're all going to February, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, previously continued applications, Planning Board File 270779, 1545 Collins Avenue, modification of the Royal Palm CUP.
Okay, Mr. Chair, this is an application that has been filed requesting modifications to a previously issued conditional use permit to operate an aggregate of uses as a neighborhood impact establishment. Specifically, the applicant is requesting approval for the reconfiguration of the previously approved venues, the introduction of ambient level outdoor entertainment, and a second floor rooftop alcoholic beverage establishment that's located within 200 feet of a property containing a residential unit. The original CUP for this property was granted in September of 2011. It has been modified over the years, with the last modification occurring in 2019. The existing modified CUP, again, this is the 2019 version, contains 3 different venues: a destination restaurant, a lobby bar, and a 3-meal restaurant. The current proposal for the destination restaurant is to decrease the occupancy in this location by 164 people and remove the existing dance floor. So this is the venue that's fronting onto Collins Avenue in the historic portion of the property. I think Biblos was there. I'm not sure if it's still the tenant, but that's where that destination is. The lobby bar, the proposal currently is to increase the occupancy by 52 people. This is primarily due to a 2024 approval by the city's Historic Preservation Board for the reconfiguration of this area, which actually expands the seating capacity for this lobby bar area. They are also proposing within the lobby bar to introduce the outdoor entertainment as an ambient level outdoor entertainment. So those are the 2 changes for that lobby bar portion. In the 3-meal restaurant, there are no changes to the operations or entertainment. They are proposing a minimal increase of 6 people. Again, that's very de minimis, and staff has no objection to that. There are 2 other areas that are the subject of this current request. The current pool deck, which is currently permitted to have ambient level entertainment between the hours of 11:30 a.m. and 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 11:30 a.m. to 12 midnight Friday and Saturday. The pool deck, which is at the ground level, is only for hotel guests. So this area that they're allowed to have limited entertainment is not open to the public. This would just be for weddings or if a guest at the hotel was having some type of event there, they would be permitted to have entertainment. The other area, which is in addition to the previously issued CUP, is the 2nd level flexible space and roof terrace. The roof terrace, which is the outdoor portion of the 2nd level, was originally approved as a pool deck. They are now they're removing the pool from that, that's part of the 2024 HPB approval, and converting it to a roof terrace. They would now like to use this area connected to the inside flexible space as a hotel-only function space. Again, this would be not open to the public, just for hotel guests and sponsored events by the hotel. Not open to the public.
Within the same hours of operation before 11?
Correct. So, well, the same hour, the hours of operation are not proposed to change. So in the 2nd level roof terrace, they would close by 11 Sunday through Thursday and 12 a.m. Friday through Saturday. Now, the ambient level outdoor entertainment throughout the property is a maximum of 10 p.m. before it would cease. So the space could function until 11 or 12 a.m. respectively, but the outdoor entertainment portion, which again is being requested for ambient level entertainment only, would cease at 10 p.m., both at the lower level lobby bar as well as that 2nd level terrace. So that is probably the most, significant change in terms of what the difference between the 2019 modified CUP and what the request is now, is this introduction of ambient level outdoor entertainment. Both of these areas, I just want to reiterate, are not open to the public.
And the 2 a.m. hours of operation for the pool bar?
For the pool bar is existing. Yeah. There's no changes proposed for the deliveries, loading, or sanitation. This was and I see Mr. Stoller's here. This was a topic of much discussion at previous planning board meetings in terms of the delivery access, because this is a shared access with their neighbor, their residential building to the neighbor. So they're not proposing any changes to those conditions. I will note, if you look at the red line version of the order staff is recommending, we are proposing a lot of cleanup, because since this, again, this CUP originally started in 2011 and has been modified over time, it's very confusing. There are conditions that were added by the Historic Preservation Board that the Planning Board adopted, which is very unusual. So we are recommending a kind of a cleanup to streamline everything to make it easier to enforce.
All
Mr.
right.
Chair,
Yeah,
my
before
name
we-
is Henry Stoller. I have filed
wanna
a
move- I know.
motion for
Give me a second.
continuance.
Yeah.
May that be heard, may my motion for continuance be heard now?
To continue the item?
To continue the item.
Go ahead.
For 4 weeks,
Go ahead.
to the January 6th meeting.
Go
Thank you.
ahead, make your motion.
My name is Henry Stoller. I have lived at 1500 Ocean Drive continuously for 21 years as my sole residence. I served as a member of this planning board for 6 years, from 2008 to 2014. Two of my neighbors, Albert LePage and Philip and Ileana Minlin, have filed flat, outright oppositions to the proposed amendments to the 2019 modified conditional use permit. I have not joined them in that effort. Instead, I have tried to negotiate with the hotel on specific changes to their proposals. I thought that the hotel and I had a clear understanding that we would meet on the subject of talking about specific changes. The hotel representative staff that the hotel was requesting the continuance granted to this day for further consultation with its neighbors. That, in fact, has not happened. The hotel has engaged in a pattern of delay, foot dragging, and non-responsiveness, as detailed in the request for continuance that I have filed with you. My view is that the hotel's conduct in this matter is unconscionable, a complete breach of trust, fair dealing, and decency with an immediate neighbor. Now, when it's me requesting the 4-week continuance and not the hotel, as was the case last time, the hotel wants to rush the case through on the merits through this holiday season today. Actually, the two delays by the hotel in my effort to meet with them and to discuss changes with them, as described in my request for continuance, each lasted 2 weeks, adding up to the very period of 4 weeks that I am asking you today to continue this case to. During my 6 years as a planning board member, it was unthinkable that we would ever deny a first-time request by an immediately adjacent property owner. My view for continuance, my view then and now, is that it is an abuse of discretion to allow this to move forward today. Now it's up to you. May I have 4 weeks, please, during the holiday season, to have my first and only continuance to try again to bring the hotel to the table for discussion. You may be hearing that this delay of 4 weeks would be highly prejudicial to the hotel. It is not in the least. If people have come flying in here today because they expect to testify from other cities, it is notwithstanding the fact that they've been on notice since last Wednesday that I was seeking a continuance. The construction at the hotel continues apace. It is not affected by this, and this massive outdoor venue for outdoor entertainment, where a whole swimming pool used to be, is rapidly approaching completion. I request a continuance until the January 6th meeting.
But
Thank
Henry,
you.
I want to make sure I understand. You're not saying they've done anything procedurally deficient that would require a You're just saying you want more time to negotiate. I just want to understand your
I
position.
want,
So what's the difference between that and you coming here, not continuing, and voicing your opposition to certain items that we can, as a board, rule on like we always do?
because
Because
I
they're
have-
all here, and if they haven't done anything procedurally deficient, then I don't know why you wouldn't just come in.
Because I am not seeking to oppose it in general. I am seeking to have the audience, the meeting, the shirt sleeve discussion of their specific conditions, as we have done before in this property, to talk through them. They have denied that opportunity to me, and so, yes, with limited preparation, I can speak in opposition today. I haven't prepared for that because I assumed all along that based upon representations made to me, that in fact we would have a discussion to have a face-to-face meeting. Instead, what happened was last Wednesday, counsel for the hotel told me after I'd hunted him down by telephone that, well, maybe we would have a call in the next day or two. Well, that's not the good faith that I expected from the hotel, and not the good faith that the hotel represented to us when it met with our entire association.
But are you here on behalf of your association or individually?
I am not.
Okay.
Like the two other people I've mentioned, I speak for myself as an individual.
Okay, let them respond. Good.
As you might guess, forgive me, Carter McDowell, Bills and Sunbury, here representing the applicant, and I have a team of people here with me to answer any questions. Our view of that is not the same. There have been good faith exchanges, email exchanges, telephone calls. Yes, it is true. The first round of discussions, Henry asked us several times to give him a Word copy of the draft amended order so that he could mark up the order. We did ultimately provide that to him, and he came back with, I think, about 45 suggested changes in the order. This was the week before Thanksgiving. In his outline of dates, he forgets to tell you that this was the week before Thanksgiving. I obviously couldn't respond to Henry's suggestions without talking to my client, given the nature and the extent of the changes. So it did take us, with Thanksgiving intervening, it took us 2 weeks to get back to him. We were also, and there's some interesting procedural things that have happened, nothing that's wrong, but we had expected, we asked for the continuance, we have had conversations, we've made significant changes in response to both Mr. LePage's comments and Henry's comments. We did not accept all of them, I can tell you, because many of them are administratively really burdensome. But none of them are, I mean, other than he did ask that we limit the time to 9 p.m. Most of them were technical changes. I don't know if he will agree with that conversation, or that characterization. So as soon as I was able to get my clients together to talk, we put together a response. I mailed it to him, and I gave Henry a complete copy of our markup of the proposed order on December 7th, I believe was the date.
This is not correct. Excuse me, Carter.
At any rate, there has been an exchange. We have also, Royston, our GM, has talked with the board and members of the board during that period of time. It's not like we turned our back on it. We just got a response that candidly, we said, we can't accept those changes. We have changed. You asked for specification of what ambient only and other things.
All right, let me interrupt you one second. Do you believe that further meetings would be futile and you'd rather just get to the merits? I want.
Yes, is the short answer.
Because normally, sometimes the applicant will be benefited by meeting again with the neighbors.
At this stage,
yeah.
For several reasons, I believe that we should have this hearing. If there are issues that are open at the end of the hearing, you all always have the authority to continue a matter, but I think it would be helpful for you to understand what what is being proposed and what's not being proposed. Right. And you'll make your own judgment at that point. I think we can find our way through this process. I don't think it requires an additional hearing. It is important to us, and Henry has already said that's not an excuse. We are working on this renovation and on getting these venues back in place in anticipation of the World Cup, which is happening in May and June.
Right.
And we really are.
All right. Is there anyone else in chambers who wants to speak on this motion?
If I may just say.
Give me 1 second. Is anybody on Zoom? Okay. Because, I'm going to be honest, I don't ever remember one resident seeking a continuance before, the precedent for that, especially if there's been no procedural deficiency. And if they believe it's futile, then, my inclination is to let it go forward and let you tell us in this hearing what you oppose. And then we, like we always do, we'll listen to you, we'll listen to them, anyone else on the public that has something to say and make a decision.
Further discussion would not be futile. I have a history of dealing with Carter and with the hotel. I've been able to work through these things in the past, face-to-face, openly. There has never been a problem in coming to an agreement. The final hearing in 2019 was uncontested, and it has all worked very well in the past. This time, and I think it's important to note that the markup involved was a previous addition. We didn't have the staff proposal until the usual time. The staff was very timely in putting it out, and that's what I would like to discuss with them. The fact that they are pushing to get this done for World Cup is just the sort of thing that strikes fear into my heart. World Cup is a very big deal. World Cup will lead to some boisterous parties. We can have all the controls in the world that we want to have in a conditional use permit. The fact of the matter is that if it's Uruguay out there on that deck, you can be sure it's going to be a loud party. And if it's not going to wind up until 10 o'clock or over a weekend, even later, well, there's going to be a problem. Now, how much do we want to lay on code compliance to respond to the inevitable complaints?
None.
I have ideas for controlling this. I can't do this on the fly. This requires good faith conversation where Carter and Graydon and I sit down in a room, go through it point by point. I will give them hard copy, specific text. We can do yes, no, maybe, compromise, but it can be worked out. But we need to have that meeting, and we need to have 4 weeks over the holiday season. There's no urgency here to get this done. That's all that I am asking. I will not be back on January 6th requesting a second continuance,
Hey,
no
can I
matter
ask-
what.
Do you have your list of things,
I have an incomplete preparation because I had believed that, number one, we had had the meeting. Right up through Wednesday of last week, I still expected the meeting. Then at the 11th hour and the 59th minute, I get an email saying,
no, I know that. I don't
okay,
mean- I
this
mean,
is the reason I do not have a complete list, because I was
Well, is
expecting
the
a
issue,
meeting.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but is the issue the noise and the entertainment, or are there other issues? Because those are some things that perhaps we could selectively continue the discussion on a few of the things that, if we can't reach resolution, because my inclination, and obviously I defer to Mr. Chair, but I think, they're here to present today, they're prepared. Let's hear what they have to say, and then I'm very curious to hear what your proposals are, or your concerns, because we all on here want to make sure we address your concerns, but that doesn't necessarily require a continuance of the entire application. You get what I'm saying?
I understand, and if bifurcation makes sense, that's fine. I don't want anybody to be inconvenienced. If the people here wish to testify today, and then we can have our conversation in the next 4 weeks, and then present the case for a final decision 4 weeks from now, that's fine.
Well, Henry,
That's
we're not
a
going to
reasonable
guarantee,
compromise.
but we're not going to guarantee that what I think Jonathan's saying, what I believe is let the application proceed. Because like I said, if they had done a procedural problem, then if they warranted a continuance, I would do it. And if we feel we need to continue it after hearing all the evidence, then we can. If not, we can listen to your concerns and anyone else's concerns, and then make a decision on the CUP.
And there's a possibility for you too, Henry, that this actually moves the process more forward, right? So we're going to bring up in discussion some of your concerns, and we're going to, help navigate that today. And again, if we can't reach an agreement, but I think you have us today helping out to sort out the issue. We can go through a continuance for the next 4 weeks and be at the exact same place if they refuse to negotiate or talk about any of the stuff that you're bringing up. So you have a team here working with you guys to sort out what we need to look into, so.
All right, Keith, any questions or comments, or Scott?
My only question is, do we have any feedback from your board, one way or the other?
Mr. Marks, our board is completely consumed with a common problem that we have with the hotel, namely the fact that a massive proposal is being made for the property that adjoins us and adjoins them, with which we share a driveway. And that is the Bancroft Hotel and the
Right, but Henry,
Ocean
the proper
Steps.
notice was given to everybody. Anyone can come and speak today. and
Sure,
like-
no, I'm
like
trying
we
to
always
just-
say.
No, he's, he
I just want to answer
explained
the
they
question.
haven't, they're not here to.
The short answer is no, they have other more critical pursuits right
Okay.
now through Russell Galbraith's
answered.
proposal.
I got it.
Respectfully, I'd like our GM to address
Hold
that
on, I
issue.
don't know if we need it. Hold on. Scott, any?
No, I was just going to say that, Henry, it may benefit you if we did hear this today, because, like it was said, if we can't come to a conclusion here and vote yea or nay, you'll hear back from the board on certain issues that, the contentious issues, and you may get a sense of how we feel about that. It may help you. If it's continued after we hear it, when you speak with the applicant, you can tell the applicant, well, you heard how the board feels about this one particular issue or another one. It may give you a little bit of a better position to negotiate with them if you at least hear from the board today and hear how we feel about a lot of these issues.
If we feel like.
If we don't come to a
Yeah.
vote on it.
Thank you, Scott. That's very, very constructive. And as long as the option exists for some form of revisiting on January 6th
Well,
of some issues.
Henry, that's not how it works. Either we're going to make a decision today, or we are, as a board, going to feel we can't, and we need to continue it. It's not going to be, we're not going to proceed conditioned on a guarantee that it'll be revisited.
I seek
So-
no guarantee. Obviously, it's
Right.
up to you all.
Yeah, all right, if I'm hearing, I think we're gonna deny them, I mean, I don't wanna speak for everybody, it sounds like we're gonna let the application go forward, and then we're gonna welcome you to speak with anybody else, and then if we can't come to a decision, then we'll continue it, but we're gonna proceed with it.
May I please have a vote of the board on the motion to continue?
What's that? Yeah, we're gonna
Please
do
have
that.
A board,
Yeah.
vote
So
of the board.
we're gonna vote.
On the
We are
motion
gonna
to
vote.
continue.
Okay, I need
Thank you.
someone to make a motion to either grant the continuance or deny the continuance.
I'll make a motion to deny the continuance.
Okay, that's your second?
I'll second that.
Okay. You could do a roll call, please.
Mr. Cement,
Yes.
Mr. Frieden,
Yes.
Ms. Latone,
Yes.
Mr. Marks,
Yes.
Mr. Needleman,
Yes.
Ms. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Elias.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead and proceed with the actual application.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Board. I want to start by saying that while this has been characterized as a complicated and big application, because potentially of two venues that are seeking entertainment, if you don't approve the outdoor entertainment, we can have the same music at ambient levels on those facilities anyway. The only thing that entertainment allows us to do is to have a DJ play the music at the same volume, or in most cases, one of the things that I personally think is really important is, let's say you want to have a wedding or a bar bat mitzvah at this new deck. It's not a new deck. The deck has been there. The pool is going away. You could have a string quartet play the wedding march. You can't do that without getting approval for entertainment, even in a hotel venue.
Special event permit.
Yeah, but there are 12 of those a year.
Right.
Limited to 2 days, and it's a very involved process to get them.
Right.
It's not appropriate for an event. Those are done typically for multi-day issues and large gatherings. You want to have my daughter's wedding, we had a string quartet at her wedding. We could not have done that at this venue without approval of entertainment. But if you deny the entertainment, we can still play the same music at the same level, in the same location. You just can't have a person involved in producing the music. It's that technical when you get right down to it. And so we We needed to come to this board because of the modifications of the numbers of the venues, which are going down with the exception of 2, which are offset by the larger reduction. By the way, I see a timer going that's at 8 minutes already. I would ask that we not lose that. Anyway, so that's big picture, that's what we're talking about. So let's talk about the property and the application and the venues. And so I think you all know this, but this is a overview. The green outlined is our property. You'll note we have 2 historic buildings and 2 new towers that were added to this property as part of a response to an RFP that the city put out for convention center hotels back in the 90s. They were built in the early 2000s. Henry's building, the 1500 Ocean Steps, is the larger building to the south of us. And the property he was just referring to, where they are seeking a potentially live local large project, is to the west of the 1500 Ocean Steps. There is a driveway that we all share through a very complicated set of and we do share that, and it's going to be an issue both for them and for us when that construction happens. We have to work through that. But the operational conditions for that shared driveway are not changing in anything you're doing today. Again, some further views of the relationship of the properties. So on the right side, you see our seaward tower behind the historic Royal Palm. You see in seaward of that tower, the second floor pool deck, which we are discussing. That pool is going away. The ground level pool is the main hotel pool, and that stays. We also have a 3-story wing of the building that goes almost all the way to the seaward end that is between those venues and 1500 Ocean Steps. It's, depending on what particular number, it's somewhere between 43 and 46 feet tall. So and that, I'll come back to that. On the left side, you see a view, and you see a little red box, excuse me. Oops, I just changed. That little red box is actually close to where the lobby bar will be. That's now going to be both inside and outside. The current bar is only inside. It's actually further west toward Collins Avenue than that particular location. This is, and here, I think I can show you, this is the lobby bar area that we're talking about. This is the entrance to the Royal Palm. You come in. This is the corridor over to the elevator bank for the tower that sits basically from here over, and that's the location of the lobby bar on the far western edge between the 2 buildings, with a building on 3 sides of that venue. The pool deck is not shown here. But the pool deck is located over top of this, which is the restaurant, the 3-meal restaurant. It's up on the 2nd level. Oops, wrong way. These are context photos. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but they are there if you need to come back and look at them. You do see no, that's not the pool deck pool. That's the ground level pool. Here you see the venue, the 2nd floor venue that is, and Henry's write-ups have said they're on the south side of the property. They're not. They're in the middle of the property or on the northern edge of our property. There's a 3-story building between 1500 Ocean Steps and anything we're talking about. This is a rendered view of the revised lobby with a little cafe on the left, the check-in desk, and actually part of the cafe there. This is the new check-in desk, which is a little further back in, but you see the quality of the space. This is the lobby bar rendering from the inside, looking across the lobby bar. On either side of the bar, there are nano doors, which we can open, but you can also see the wall of the building beyond the bar. So it's an enclosed space. It's not fully enclosed. We can't do that from an FAR standpoint, but it is not open, it is open air, but it's surrounded on three sides. This is a view looking down the arcade at the lobby bar location. It's down at the very end of that, where you see the little awning. We would love to have that be a closed awning. We can't because of FAR issues. It's got to be 50% open to the sky. But it will have some baffling effect on it. I'm going to point out that there's kind of a diagonal there to the left of the lobby bar area. That is some stairs that lead up to the lanai, and right behind those stairs is an elevator bank for that is actually almost 60 feet high, which we'll show you, again, between Ocean Steps, between Henry's apartment and the lobby bar. This is the three-meal restaurant on the ground level. This is the main pool, and you see up above that where the umbrellas are, that is the current second-level pool. That's the deck we're talking about in terms of asking for entertainment, and I'll show you why. This is a rendering of that deck. One of the ironies of many of the oceanfront hotels is you can't see the ocean because we have the public walk between us, we have a lot of landscaping. So when you're at our pool, our hotel pool, you can't see the ocean. This space, being up at the second level, will provide, imagine having a wedding in that venue, overlooking the ocean. It's a lovely space. This is looking from essentially the public walkway back across the main hotel pool, and again, you see the umbrellas on that deck. But this is at the very seaward side of the property. So one of the things that's happened since we asked for the continuance is the city is evolving how it's controlling the numbers of people in these venues. The fire department has now taken a position that their occupancy calculations are going to be purely mathematical. You take the space, you divide the square footage by a number for each of the patrons, and that becomes the occupancy. Historically, the city has talked about seats and occupancy, but they are moving to, and this order will, make occupancy the controlling factor because you can't change the size of the space without permits. And so, but you can change seat layouts. You can put more people or less people in a space based on furniture layout. The city's moving toward a more, if you will, predictable limitation on occupancy. Because of that change, we've had to change our numbers to reflect occupancy of the spaces. As you see, our ultimate reduction is 105 over what was there today. It does increase the occupancy of the pool, of the proposed lobby bar. It does increase the seats in the restaurant a little bit, but that is the change. We were asked to do that. We tried to file that, but they said we really needed to present it to you at this hearing since we'd already been advertised with a set of plans. So we're presenting that to you. I can go through it in detail if you'd like, but it's pretty technical when all is said and done. This is the prior filing. I'm going to skip over that. This is, again, the new filing showing the upstairs venues, how we calculated that, and how we got to the occupancy. We're still 100 people less than is currently permitted under the existing CUP, 105 technically. That's, again, this is blow-ups of the three-meal restaurant and the new lobby bar and its configuration, and the numbers in that chart reflect that. Again, globally, there is an increase in the lobby bar because it's one-sided today, inside only. It will be two-sided in the future so that we can utilize and enjoy this climate that we all live here for. Yes, in the summer, it's likely to be closed most of the time. In the winter, it will certainly be open during the hours of operation that we have specified. And we have said that the outdoor entertainment on those venues will stop at 10 p.m. The noise ordinance really regulates at 11 p.m. We voluntarily said 10 p.m. Lots of detail. So this shows, and I'm going to go through these quickly, this shows the change. The maximum occupant load before was 774. Based on occupancy, and we've said the seat count can't exceed the occupancy, it would be 660. And you'll note that you see played at a volume that does not, it's ambient level, played at a volume not to interfere with normal conversation, permitted until 10 p.m., at which point this is for the bar. The doors would be closed, and only the interior part of the lobby bar would be allowed to continue with music. This is for the upper deck, same issue. Again, not open to the public. It has to be a hotel function. If it's a wedding or a corporate meeting, et cetera, you know, they and their guests will be there, but it's not intended to be and won't be a commercial venue. And candidly, it won't be used all the time. It's only going to be used when someone books the space. So this is language again from, and I didn't say this to begin with, we're fine with staff recommended order. There's some language we would have preferred to change. We presented it to staff, they rejected it. So we're fine with the staff recommendation. We will follow the staff recommendation with one exception, and this is the exception. The traffic review group came back with a requirement that says we have to have a minimum of 10 valet runners maintained at AM peak and PM peak for at least 6 months, and then we can ask to change it. It's not clear to me whether that means we have to come back here or whether we would change it administratively. There have been several recent CUPs that you have approved with different language that is a little more flexible. That number 10 is also based upon the fact that the city will not allow us to take into consideration the full ride share usage in hotels on the beach. I don't know about you, but I don't drive into South Beach these days. I take an Uber or a Lyft because I don't want to have to deal with my car, and I also don't want to pay $40 to valet it for, 2 hours. And I think most people do that. The evidence shows that upward of 60+% of people who go to these hotels, particularly in the South Beach area, utilize ride-sharing services. But in our review, we were limited to 20%, not 60%. The overall review of mixed use was 25%, and I may be reversing those numbers. And Adrian is here and can answer the technicalities of it. What we would like to suggest is the alternate language below, and the red language is our language taken from other orders, which is that, and the condition says, if we need more, we have to provide more. If we need less, we can provide less, provided that the sufficient is provided to ensure the valet queue will be contained on site and does not obstruct the public right of way, which is really the substantive issue. You don't want valets to affect the public right of way. We agree that that's absolutely necessary. And we believe that this language is better language and more accurate language. And what I've just put up is a October 24 order for the undoes.
Sorry, just one quick question on that. So right now with the language that you suggested, if there were to be queuing on the street, that could, I guess, prompt a violation that would then call your applicant back.
Yes.
Is that consistent with your understanding?
Yes, we're fine with that.
And that condition is not in there right now, correct?
No, the condition that is in there today is the top condition B.
No, I understand, but I'm saying based on that, there is no mention of any queuing.
Yeah, I think we can that's one of my comments, that I think we can strengthen that a little bit.
Let
to make it
them
easier for
finish, and
folks.
we're in public
We're
comment.
fine. We absolutely 100% agree that we shouldn't affect the public right of way. We can actually stack 12 cars between the street and our front entrance. We have no problem with that. We have on-site parking for the valet anyway. So we believe this is better language, and you have utilized that exact language, subject to the numbers being slightly different, for the Andaz and for 1100 Fifth Street within the last several months. It seems to us that that's better language, it's more flexible, and it reflects reality, which is don't screw up the roadway. With that, I think we're going to stop. I have our whole team here to answer your technical questions. I don't want to take more time. But I do want to say, Henry has characterized these as large venues. They are not. The lobby bar, I think the total occupancy, and somebody's going to tell me the exact number, and that's both inside and outside, is I think 120, more or less.
I think there's a chart in here, right?
Is the number. But that's both phases, and the outside phases out at 10 PM, which for South Beach is earlier than normal. And so, and the pool deck is an intermittent use. It's not going to be, and it's at ambient, the critical issue is it's ambient. They did have some technical comments I just want to address for a minute. They said, well, how do we know it's going to be set that way? The answer is because we have to put the systems in, we have to test the systems, we have to do that with the city. The city has to sign off that we're in compliance with the order before we can get a BTR to operate this place. Okay, so obviously we can't do it in advance because you have to build the stuff and test it in place. That, the order absolutely requires that. The system is to be locked with only the general manager having access to it. I can assure you, and think about what we're doing, we're elevating this property overall. We expect room rates in a normal timeframe to be 500 plus per room. We don't want to disturb our own guests. They're right over top of what we're talking about. They're much closer to it than the building to the south. I would also note, just contextually.
And then wrap it up here, please.
The 1,500 Ocean Steps and this property are part of the MXC district. It's not a residential district. It's the MXC district. This property was built in response to a city RFP for a convention center hotel. With that, we're here to answer questions.
Okay. All right, we're going to open up to public first, and then anyone in chambers other than Henry to speak on this?
And Mr. Chairman, before we hear from the public, do any board members have any ex parte communications to disclose on this application?
No.
Yeah, I did have a conversation with the applicant, phone conversation.
And for the record, well, go ahead.
I got a couple emails from the applicant.
We emailed the board asking and offering to meet with them.
Correct.
We talked to two board members.
Didn't talk to him.
Respond.
The same. Anybody else?
No, but I would like to say that I do know two residents that live in the building that they had some concerns.
Okay. All right, again, anybody other than Henry to speak in chambers? I'll let you go last, Henry. Anyone on Zoom?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have iPhone.
We have iPhone.
The iPhone is named Irene. Thank you.
Good morning. Could you please state your name for the record, and then I'll swear you in?
Sure, it's Irene Bigger.
Hi, Irene. Do you
I live in the building. Yes, I do swear, to tell the truth, yes. I have to go to a meeting at 10, otherwise I would be there with Henry. I appreciate his presence. I know that he represents a lot of concerned residents at our building, mainly noise, and I was there and I witnessed the question that I also asked about the sound. Of course, ambient, sometimes, I know it's probably about 60, 70 decibels, but, it could be subjective in a sense of what's too loud. I just want to bring up the past history of issues that we've had throughout South Beach with code. If something does happen, I know I'm being very vague. I just wanted to make a general point that I myself thought that we would be able to go over with the sound engineer how they would handle the noise, the dispersion of it, et cetera. But I will leave that to Henry to discuss with you. And then just one more point. I had specifically asked, because I'm on the northeast corner, if festivals such as, or parties such as Urge, would continue, and I was told flat out no. I do understand that we are in South Beach. That's why I live here. I love the accessibility. I love the vibe. But there are times where that vibe or that, you don't have to party and have the bass shake a building, okay? That to me is tacky. And I believe based on our meeting that the people that are renovating, they are not tacky. They have class. They know what they're doing. I'd like to depend on that. but we know how that could be taken advantage of. So I just wanted to make those points and thank Henry for being there. I do want it to succeed, I do want to say, and I understand that there needs to be amenities and options and, everything to make a business succeed. But I also want to make it a point that you don't need to be loud and obnoxious to succeed. Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, our next speaker is Michael Resnick.
Good morning, Michael. Do you swear that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
So, so I am a resident of 1500 as well. I am on the northwest side of the building, adjacent to where the lobby bar would be. I'd just like to say, they say that music will be ambient level, but the biggest issue I have again is noise. If you go into a restaurant, you're the earlier people there, you can have a nice conversation with someone at your table. Not a lot of people there. The music, if they're playing, is the ambient level. Once the restaurant gets busy, the music that they're playing hasn't increased, but there's more people there, and sometimes you can't hear the person across from you. That's sort of my concern here. I mean, the lobby bar is going to be sort of in a corner. Currently, the sound reverberates between the two buildings. When they have a few events, like a wedding or something, they have tables set up in the breezeway. It can get quite loud at the balconies. I happen to work outside in the balcony, remote work. So I'm concerned that the lobby bar, although the music is ambient, it's going to be quite loud. Our building is not a soundproof building. Don't have insulated windows. We all have balconies where we enjoy the South Beach, weather. I feel that we're going to be greatly impacted by the increased venues that are out. So, thank you.
Okay. Mike, we lost you. I hope you're finished. Anybody else?
No.
Okay, Henry?
Carter.
Thank you. No.
Well, we paid John the big money.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I am not fully or properly prepared to argue the case on the merits today because I had a good faith belief that before now I would have met with hotel representatives or this case would be continued. But subject to that qualification, here I go. There is no way in the world to read what is proposed here other than as a wholesale, massive expansion, not only of outdoor areas of operation, but outdoor hours of entertainment. Depending upon the venue, outdoor entertainment would be permitted in one venue until 10 p.m. every night, and in the other venue until 11 p.m. or midnight, depending upon the night of the week. I don't understand all this talk about 10 p.m. when there's a clear provision in page 4 of the proposed order, paragraph 6C, Roman numeral 6. In that particular venue, outdoor entertainment shall be permitted from 11:30 a.m. until 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and from 11:30 a.m. until 12 a.m. midnight, Friday and Saturday. So never mind 10 p.m. everywhere. That just isn't the case. The hotel would create 2 whole new venues for outdoor operation and outdoor entertainment, the breezeway and the former second floor pool deck. I have given you pictures of first The view from our particular terrace, and the same is true of Mr. LePage and Mr. Resnick and Mr. Mindlin and Mrs. Bigger, whom you've heard from. The big slab on the right side is where the swimming pool used to be. That doesn't look like a small venue to me. That's a pretty good sized chunk of concrete for outdoor entertainment. Secondly, just to bring the matter home, the second picture is a tighter photograph designed to show what the view is from the terrace of any of the people I have named, 5 of them so far. And you will see our terrace set up with a table and chairs. And you can see that huge concrete slab, which is going to be the brand new venue for one of the 2 places for expanded outdoor entertainment. Mr. LePage's filed opposition stated that all outdoor entertainment should end at 9 p.m. Mr. and Mrs. Mindlin's filed opposition opposed all outdoor entertainment, period. There are multiple safeguards that could have been discussed to make any deadline workable and enforceable. But forcing this hearing on the merit precludes a discussion of those safeguards. However, simply as one example of a missed safeguard, may I have a couple more minutes,
Sure.
Mr. Chair? Thank you. The language, quote, ambient level played at a volume that does not interfere with normal conversation. That may be time-honored boilerplate, but it sure is not common sense honored. What on earth does that mean? Nick, I'm smiling at you. I know this has been boilerplate for a long time, and it's time for a fresh look, and this is a good place to have it. Normal conversation where? Suppose one could say that at a distance of 150 feet from the sound source, you have finally reached the point at which the sound, quote, does not interfere with normal conversation, unquote. Does that make sense? I had suggested 10 feet. Some limitation, some qualification must be inserted there for it to make any sense. Otherwise, we're talking about sound that is so loud, it bellows all the way across the street to the other side of Collins Avenue. The mayor and commission have shown a particular sensitivity to intrusive sound in situations exactly like this one. Just slightly more than 2 years ago, the city code's definition of a neighborhood impact establishment was expanded to include open-air alcoholic beverage establishments within 200 feet of a property which contains a residential unit. My wife and I have crudely, with our kitchen tape, measured the distance between the Royal Palm south wall and our building's north wall. We found a separation distance of 39 feet 7 inches. The new ordinance seeks to protect residents, extends out to 500% of that number. I want to respond to a couple of Carter's comments, please. Carter identifies benign usages, weddings, bar mitzvahs, etc. Without limiting language, it could be a lot more. Super Bowl parties, next year's World Cup parties. Again, a little face-to-face negotiation could put some limitation as to what can take place. Is the manager on duty supposed to go out and have a little visit with the 275-pound tailback and say it's time for you all to quit now because it's 10 p.m.? I think that's a little much to expect. Now we have code compliance, now we have residents down in the driveway, and we have exactly the kind of situation which should be avoided. Carter also talks about these being unfairly characterized as large venues. The size of the venue makes no difference. People can make all kinds of intrusive noise and sound and loud conversation just by being at the very next table in a restaurant. Carter has said 10 p.m. is early in South Beach. Again, I remind you, we're talking about 11 and 12 p.m. in one venue on certain nights of the week. Well, that may be early in South Beach, but it may not be early for people whose residential home is exactly 40 feet away. I ask that you consider at least these limitations on what is possible, that you limit everything until 9 p.m., that you qualify the language allowing ambient conversation or allowing normal conversation so that it is identified by its number of feet. We wish to live in peace with our neighbor. They are good people, and we believe that their overall program is good for us and good for our neighborhood. But living in peace at a range of 40 feet requires far more controls than is proposed before you today. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Thank you. Anybody else in chambers speak on this? Okay, no more people on We're going to close the public hearing. Keith?
May I?
No, well, I'd like.
Well, let Keith ask questions and you can address them.
Let me first state that I understand the gentleman over there's position fully. I lived at Continuum on South Beach. We had a building that was built by our developer 80 feet away with exactly the same situation where we had balconies facing a second floor open area and a restaurant called Chibo. And it took us 6 months, I think it was longer, going back and forth with the city and with the developer and Chibo to limit the number of special events, to put dB limits and timeframes that were acceptable to us. This is not ripe for discussion, in my opinion. This is not even close. There is no such thing as ambient entertainment, first of all. You cannot control the volume of live music, A. B, the number one issue that I had at Chibo was even though we said you could not have speakers, you could not have amplified at any level other than the ambient music played, they had a wedding and they brought their own little speaker. And when you have weddings, bar mitzvahs, and parties, people want to have speakers. If you have a speaker, you can't have it without a microphone. If you have a microphone, you are way above ambient. You are talking above the people that are already talking very loud. I had to call the police because that wedding was going on and the speaker after speaker after speaker, and we could not listen to our TV. So the concept of ambient without decibels, the concept of having parties continuously without special events, we would never have allowed that. And I find this outrageous.
Okay. Anybody else?
Anyone disagree? I mean, I know what he's living through.
I mean, I just like to hear from the rest of the board, but unfortunately, because of years of history in the city where we've had operators, hotels, venues, whatever, that have outdoor entertainment, and regardless of where these venues are, and regardless of what the applicants may say, we're going to keep the volume under a certain level or whatever the restrictions, there's always that point in time where the volume gets turned up. There's a special event and there's a violation of the noise ordinance, and they say, oh, it'll never happen again, and it seems like it's gone on and on. When I first got on the board, there was the issue of the Good Time Hotel that had numerous violations for years, and it just seems like the reason Henry's here, the reason so many other residents speak up against locations or applicants that want outdoor entertainment or any kind of outdoor music is because I think over the years, the lack of enforcement that the city, or just the city's lack of enforcement on these things. When something happens, someone gets a slap on the wrist and it just continues and continues. And eventually, maybe if things get very bad, like they were at the Good Time Hotel, something eventually, or maybe this board or someone finally says, well, if it happens again, that's it. And the applicant realizes, well, okay, I think they're serious this time and I need
Yeah, but
to
in
stop.
response to that, to me, what you're both are saying is it's a behavioral question and an enforcement question.
I'm not- well, wait a
Because,
minute.
hold on, there are
No.
many people that have CUPs that allow this where we don't have any
Yes.
problems. So
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
but
to me,
it's
it's
also a
it-
definitional problem. You can't
it's not-
have
I'm not-
ambient entertainment with live music. That is a misnomer. Because if you allow it, what's the decibel control on that? How do you say that trumpet isn't blasting too loud, or the drums
To your point,
are
you
going
can't.
banging?
To your point, you can't. There are
Again,
good
that's a
operators and there
behavioral-
are
that's
bad
an operator
operators.
behavioral issue.
And we don't know. I assume this is going to be a good operator. I always go into something thinking there's going to be a good operator. We don't know. Even good operators, sometimes there's an event and
parties.
maybe, it
Right,
gets a
but
little
under
crazy.
but under
things
your
happen.
argument, then you would never give anybody
No,
outdoor
no,
entertainment.
no. Look, I'm,
Ambient music, yes. No live music, but
No.
ambient controlled decibel music. That's what we've been doing on
Right,
Rooftop
right,
since
but
I've
what
been
they're
here.
saying is, and I've always been puzzled by this, you can have a stereo without a DJ.
Yeah.
And play certain level of music, but if the DJ's there playing the same level of music, all of a sudden it's a
What
concern.
usually happens is you also have a DJ with a microphone. What you have to do is make sure you don't have live music, you don't have microphones.
Right, but again, it's
Down-
but it's an
even-
operational issue.
Blasted,
even with
Maybe
that,
abused
you
it.
could you don't have to have entertainment. You can have just a speaker system and the dial is turned up.
turned up.
And-
Past the
and
decibel.
it's the
That's,
same
that's
thing.
an operational issue.
Correct.
Because all I'm
And it
saying is
goes
a
back-
board, in my opinion, we have to balance between helping a business succeed, and all I hear about is how businesses are failing all over Miami Beach, and quality of life for the neighbors.
Look.
And that's the balance we have to challenge. So all I'm saying is that if you can play a stereo at a certain level, but all of a sudden because there's a DJ there or a harpist playing at the same level, again, assuming they're operationally adhering to the CUP, I don't see a difference.
I agree.
but they
I agree.
don't.
The question is, when you have an applicant, how do you make sure that they abide by all the conditions?
Well, we
So
pull their
something-
CUP,
That's
if
all.
like-
And that's why I'm not,
okay.
I mean, I'd like to basically vote on this today, because I know how I feel on things. But, that's just the question. It's hard. And that's why every application that comes in front of us for entertainment, we have this same debate, just because of this. If it was known in this city that if you violate your CUP because of noise, one time, okay, we can change some of the requirements, but the second time,
Agree.
you lose your CUP.
There's
I don't
a
think
lack-
anyone
there's a
would
lack of-
violate it.
There's a lack of faith from the
Yeah,
residents.
yeah,
the way we
and that's why
enforce it.
we're where we're at now. But to
I
that
agree with
point,
everything you're saying.
let me just say one thing. I know, Henry, we talked about good operators and bad operators. I go into all of these thinking, the operator's gonna be a good operator, because nobody comes in front of us to say, well, I might violate the noise ordinance once or twice, but it'll be a one-off thing. Mainly what you're asking for is a 9 PM cutoff. Even with that, you're assuming they're going to be a good operator because, if they're not, then the music could be loud before 9 PM. In other words, I guess the point I'm getting at is if you think they're going to be a good operator, then in general, whatever times they want to go to should be okay. If you think they're not going to be a good operator, they shouldn't have outdoor entertainment, period.
I don't know, Scott, what kind of an operator they will be. I assume they will be a responsible operator. I do know this, the GM cannot be on duty 24/7. Ultimately, this falls to the manager on duty, who's got to go out there and deal with a very hostile bunch of people who are having a good time and want to continue. That's why all this expansive real estate in the breezeway and on the former pool deck on the second floor creates so many potential problems. It will be a nightmare for code, it will be a nightmare for people in our building.
You say potential problems, but are you okay with them getting something and moving forward to see if those problems become real problems, or what's your?
I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Yes, Scott, I'd be happy to sit with them and say, look, what reasonable controls can we place here so that you can make some use of outdoor venues? Everybody who comes here loves the weather, and of course they want to be outside with friends and colleagues. Sure. We can give them some way of operating this up until 9 p.m. in all venues in a way that, subject to recall here or other provisions, we can see how it goes. But we've got to start with, are we just talking bar mitzvahs and weddings? Or are we talking
Even those.
big, out-of-control football and soccer games? There's a lot that can be worked out here in a way that will not harm them, and a way that will protect the reasonable expectations of the people in my building.
Does it make sense for us to go through the route of just special events for the first, 6 months of the operator, and they can come back and then try to change that to the entertainment? So it builds confidence. First of all, it gives some predictability for you guys, the residents, to know the events that they're going to be having when it's a special event, when they're going through special events permits. I know it's not ideal for the hotel in the long term, but if you're doing that on the first trial of 6 months basis, it allows the residents to build confidence. And if they're not violating and they're doing these special events respectfully to the neighborhood, it builds your confidence, and we know they're good operators, then they can come back in front of this board and just try to
I'll
change
open for
that.
discussion. Sure.
I'm just throwing it out there. I know it's not what the operator's ideal, but
in a
kind of a
conversation-
compromise.
Can't decide.
And
In a conversation that I had hoped to have, sure.
Is
It's
that,
a
can
suitable
that be done,
subject.
just asking the city staff, is that something that it can be done where where they can come back 6 months later if they choose to do so and change it from special entertainment to, special event to getting a CUP for entertainment?
They could certainly request a modification. They would have to submit a new application. If I would just like to clarify one thing, which I think there may be some confusion over. The existing CUP currently allows for outdoor entertainment at the ground level, so the ground level pool deck and ground level restaurant.
Right.
The second level is completely new,
I think
right?
the second level is the one that we're most concerned with. Am I mistaken
Yes,
there? Henry?
that's right. And generally, Debbie, the larger pool at grade, at ground level, has not been a problem, except during a period when, prior to this management, a DJ was brought in on Saturdays and Sundays, and it was intolerable.
DJs.
And then we all got into the same cycle with the code compliance and the special magistrate, and these things, like Good Time Hotel, take months to resolve at great cost and tremendous burden.
Mr. Stoller, may I ask a question? So given that the first floor is basically grandfathered in, correct?
I'm sorry?
Excuse me. The
First floor.
First floor is grandfathered in. It's the second floor that seems to have the problem. But I would like to also point out to the board that there is a 200-foot residential distance separation between buildings and entertainment, residential, excuse me. I didn't see anything in here that shows any kind of noise attenuation, baffling, or anything like that that would prevent the noise from going out to the beach walk, and things like that. Is there anything and also, I had a question on the noise, the sound attenuation plan. It says that, that'll be comprised of several small to medium-sized loudspeakers, and a number of large loudspeakers and subwoofers should be kept to a minimum, but that doesn't give me a number. And I was going through the plans, and it's so tiny that I was having to use my little, my little magnifying glass. I'd like to know how many speakers, and what is to, why would you not just be able to use the second, I mean, the ground floor, since that's already grandfathered in? And I mean, we do have you're already grandfathered in on the first floor. The second floor is under current code, which is 200 feet from a residential building. So I just have those questions. And what could you do to
So I'd
help the
like-
neighbors?
Yeah, and did you do a sound study, and where is it?
Well,
This
I'm
is
just asking,
submitted as part
it's
of-
right here.
Decibel?
It's
They
right
did
here.
test?
I'm just asking,
Yeah.
there's nothing that, I can't see how many speakers.
I understand. And if I may, I'd like to address a number of issues, because I think there are some misconceptions. I understand the concerns, and my client will tell you, the first thing I said to them when we started talking about this is the second floor pool deck is going to be a discussion. We knew that from the beginning, so we understand. So, couple things, and you have to, it's a lengthy order, it's got a lot of words in it, but you really need to work through it, because there are some very important things that staff, based on other now fairly standard language, include in this order that do a lot to address the concerns. First, and I will say on the record, we will agree not to use subwoofers in these areas. I
That's
have no
important.
problem with that, because I've been involved in a number of them, in a number of properties. The subwoofers are the problem, because at that low level, it's high energy and it travels.
Right.
When you get above that level, you can still create a very nice ambiance and play really good music, but you don't, and it doesn't travel as much. So there is a condition in the order that requires that the sound system be multiple speakers, small dispersed speakers.
But how many? How many?
You don't know that until you get in the field.
Well, you do though, because we've had Donatella, which provided us
The
an
sound
exact
studies did that.
location of where those speakers were going to be.
Yeah.
And it's so small. I mean, I'm sorry, it's just, maybe I'm blind to say, but I can't see where those speakers
So,
are.
And I appreciate that, but I think well, let me continue with the other thing. Once we put this, we will not allow, and the order does not allow us to allow any external speakers, period. It has to be in our contracts with anybody we sign for a venue. They are limited solely to the house system, all of it, whether it's acoustic or not. They can only use the system that's in place. That system, as installed, will be tested with the city, and candidly, we're not adverse to having other people be part of it as long as it doesn't become a party. I mean, I can't have 35 different opinions about, but we're not adverse to working with our neighbors so that they understand. In fact, if they want us to, and they will provide access, we'll run some tests off their balconies. I can't do that unless they say yes, but we will do that if they ask. And we're willing to put that as a condition. If they provide access, it can't be 200 balconies. It's got to be, some rational pattern.
I just
so
think
that we
there needs
address
to
it.
be some soundproofing
The soundproofing, the answer is, when we install the system, we then play music through it. We then adjust the system to the physical setting of where that particular sound system is.
But soundproofing is still soundproofing. It still is
In an outdoor area, I mean, you
I
couldn't
don't,
be
I'm
more
not
outdoor.
I'm not a soundproof expert, but I think, even if you put some walling and greens and all the rest, the music travels
That's
out, right?
true,
And
but-
you have
The
everyone else.
testing,
I mean-
if we do testing and we don't meet the requirements of the study with the city's approval before we lock it down, we will install additional acoustical panels if we need to.
Who's
But
going to
those
decide if
become
we need
those
to?
become a maintenance issue, and I don't want to create a maintenance issue for you or for us. We don't know that they're necessary until the system is in place and operational, and we can all literally see and hear what it sounds like.
Can we
Those
put that as
systems, as required by the order, have to be adjustable so that you can adjust the volume on each individual speaker or each array, so that you can test and you can address the way that operates to the physical setting. I know this sounds crazy, but until you get out there in the real world, put these speaker systems in and test them, we can tell you all day what it's going to mean, but you don't know until you've.
Well, I think, and your point is well taken, and that's been one of my issues for a long time, especially, given our experiences with the Good Time Hotel, is that once we grant the entertainment and the permission, it puts the onus on the residents to have to not only file complaints, get those complaints upheld, have those complaints appealed to the magistrate, and the magistrate has to grant them for us, everybody to feel real comfortable to modify those conditions.
So
But
this
then,
order
hold on,
does
let me-
address that.
what I think is the better way to do it is get the setup, have the onus on you all to prove
Yes.
that it can be done and entertainment can be had there without unreasonably disturbing the neighbors, which I think you're talking about in terms of the testing, but where do we,
The city has to approve the installation and the volume.
Right, but
Why
the way
don't we
that it's
know where
written, the
those
way that
are
it's
now?
written, it's vague in terms of, and it, it's not your fault that it's vague, but it's, if you do test on the balconies of the residents at 1500, which is a great idea, and I hope that the residents will take you up on that
Mr.
offer.
Solar, I'm sure would allow that.
I'm
Yes,
sure,
with lunch thrown in.
So,
Henry and I
so,
have been at this for a long time.
so, then, okay, so say there is music that can be heard on their balconies.
Yep.
Then what?
It's not just heard, it's got to be disturbing, if you will.
Well,
with
right,
code.
that's the question.
So the answer is, if that's a problem, we have to go back and we have to adjust the system so that there isn't a violation before the city will approve it and we can get a BTR to operate these venues.
Well, so I
And-
guess it's a
and-
question I have for the city, which is what will you, she's busy. So let me, I have a couple other things that I want to ask about. In terms of special events, what are they allowed?
Special events permit takes 60 to 90 days to get issued.
That's not my question. My question is, how many are they allowed to have, and are they allowed to go above the capacity of, people, and also in terms of music, can they go above ambient for a special event?
So yes, that's all under the discretion of the special events, the culture department and the city manager. So it's all at the discretion of the city whether or not to issue special events, but they are customarily allowed up to 12 per calendar year. They are permitted to exceed the sound levels, provided it's not a prohibited sound level in the zoning district. So if entertainment was prohibited in the zoning district, they would not be able to have entertainment as part of a special events permit. But in the case of MXE, it would be allowed.
if
They
it's
are
not-
not allowed to exceed the fire department occupancy for a special event. They could exceed, for example, the occupancy of a CUP potentially or on a building permit, but not the fire occupancy would have to be held.
But if the CUP says no, no entertainment above ambient levels, could a special events permit could allow that?
Potentially, however, the staff does work closely with the special events office to advise them of any restrictions in the CUP. But potentially for a special events permit, that could be allowed.
Okay.
And that said, the board could impose a stricter requirement on the applicant that would apply to special event permits.
And how do you get
Can you confirm 60 to 90 days to get a special permit?
I'm not exactly sure. I think it depends whether it's a high impact period or not, but I don't think it takes that long.
I don't
There is
either.
a courtesy notice that is provided to residents for a special event permit application, but that seems very lengthy,
So we're
90
thinking
days.
what, usually 30 days? or
I would
90 days?
assume it's at least 30 day.
At least 30 days.
Yeah.
okay.
I just
So,
want to know how you feel
Wait, one at
about.
a time.
Yeah, I want to
Sorry.
continue, I have a whole list, and I know we want to get through this. So when they come to you with their sound study after everything's built, and they come to you to get approval of their sound system, they also part of that, they worked with 1,500, they have a, you know, the decibels of what can be heard at 1,500, maybe you guys are out there listening. What is your cutoff for what's reasonable and unreasonable for them? And, you know, if they were to start having a daytime pool party every single, or not pool party, a deck party every single day, and have music that can be heard on their balconies every single day, what is reasonable to you? What will be approved, what won't be approved?
Well, I mean, if the music can be heard to that extent in a neighboring adjacent building, that would not be reasonable at any point, whether it's once a month or 30 days a month.
I would also add the purpose of the sound study is to ensure that the applicant is complying with whatever conditions the board has imposed, right? So if you set, as you have on other applications, a stricter noise condition, then the sound study will need to be designed to ensure that the applicant will comply.
I'd like to see where the
Like what?
speakers are
Like what,
located.
Nick? Like
Well,
when you
like
say a
you've done
stricter-
with like the board did with the Good Time Hotel,
Can't be
for
heard
example,
inside
that
a unit.
could not be plainly audible
Correct.
At the corner,
And-
for
But
example.
then it all comes back down to an operational issue.
Yes.
No, why is that an
No,
operational
no,
issue?
because I think
Because,
That they have to adhere
They-
to what we're imposing. That's all I'm saying.
sure.
If I may, there's some other conditions that I think are important to understand. One is, yes, the city has to physically come out and agree that the system works the way it's supposed to. Two, there's a required report back to you. It's set at 90 days at the moment after issuance of the BTR. That's what's in this order right now. We have to come back for a progress report.
Where are the
I-
speakers?
Huh?
Where's the plan that shows where the speakers are located?
On that deck, I was told from the people who produced it, that there are 3 speakers proposed for that deck. 3.
I'd like to see that plan.
So, I have a couple other,
But again, and I don't want to minimize the concern, I do understand it. Let's say we said we were going to have 6 speakers, and we test it, and they can clearly hear it, it's clearly audible on their balcony. We either have to remove or reduce the volume on those, whether it's 3, 6, or 12. And my experience on other properties is the more small speakers you have, the better off you are.
Right.
Because it
They're smalling
distributes it
down.
locally, not at distance. So the more speakers there are, the better off, the better the system operates to limit overflow or overspill, if you will.
I guess one concern I have is in terms of the entertainment, I don't think there's anything in here restricting percussion, and I think there should be, or is there? I don't think.
It
There
doesn't
should
say it
be.
specifically, but it
Yeah,
does.
I mean, I think here's the problem. A drum set is technically entertainment. It's not connected to a speaker, right, Nick?
I would not recommend distinguishing between types of instruments. I think
First Amendment.
we should really stay focused on volume levels. And the standards that are in our noise ordinance that the board has relied on, the lowest is plainly audible. For example, in the noise ordinance, after 11 o'clock, if noise is plainly audible at a distance of 100 feet, that is a prima facie case of a violation of the noise ordinance. For example, ambient level is a level that does not interfere with normal conversation. Other than that, it would just be the threshold in the noise ordinance prior to 11 o'clock, which is it, unnecessarily or unreasonably loud. But I think, I don't know, your decisions here have to be based on the conditional use criteria in the code. I would recommend hewing more closely to the noise standards that our code compliance department
Okay, that's fair.
is used to enforcing.
That's fair. So I guess I talked about the onus is on the residents. Where I feel is the safer way to do these things is to start it off with, it should not be plainly audible from their units. or from wherever, then if it can be proven that it can, once it's all set up, it can be done in a way, or it's negotiated between the building, the neighboring building and them, that they want to give them a few nights a week where it's plainly audible, or certain time periods that it's plainly audible, that to me is more palatable than to starting off with, you can do entertainment, plainly audible is not unreasonable, and then you have to come back and modify it and everything. I'd rather come back and modify it to give them more leeway once we see they're set up to that in a way that won't disrupt the residents, because I will point out, they did have several noise violations, complaints, warnings, whatever they were, over the last few years. And that to me is an important thing. It means that this is not a property that, one thing's a management thing, but the other thing is just in terms of the location, it's clearly nearby,
It's 200 feet. It's within 200 feet.
nearby residents that it's going to disrupt it.
So Jonathan, just so I understand, so you're suggesting instead of doing the ambient level that we go for plainly audible, correct?
Well, I think it's probably both, not to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's plainly audible, and look, there can be, that's part of the one of the issues of, I would love to have more discussions amongst them, because there might be parts of the building that it can be plainly audible that they don't care, the people who live closest maybe won't care as much, certain resident, and so plainly audible from certain areas, I don't know, it's a very specific thing. I defer to staff what they think. I do have a question about the lobby, the open air, so am I correct that you said you can't close the lobby bar because of the FAR issue?
That's correct. We can't enclose that space.
Right.
Because we are at the maximum FAR allowed for the property going back to when it was built.
Makes sense.
But we can and are planning to put a cover over it, noise attenuation. It won't stop all the noise.
It would
But
help.
again, I want to go and maybe think about separating the venues. That venue is, it's on the ground level. It is on the ground level. It is enclosed on three sides by structures that are no less than 40-plus feet tall.
Well, I just want to look, I'm not taking too much issue with that. What I guess was wondering, you're allowed to have 5 a.m. entertainment in the lobby, and so I'm not trying to take issue with that.
Only if the doors are closed.
If the doors are closed, I guess that was my question. Okay.
But excuse me, to that point, Mr. Frieden, that breezeway's exposure to us from a standpoint of noise should not be minimized. We have had spectacular problems. It can be surrounded by 100-foot walls. That music and entertainment, when it's been excessive, wafts right up.
Well, I think that's a point well taken, is that should, especially when it's contained in that area, shouldn't be plainly audible to the neighboring property, to the neighbors. I would like to add a provision like we've done in the past, where the residents be given a phone number, a direct phone number to the manager on duty at the time.
It's in the order. And
It's
we
in the
agree.
order? Okay, great.
And just for your benefit of your clients, I want you, and I think you do understand the balance we're trying to achieve here.
Absolutely do.
Because, you can't, have all this at the expense of the neighbors, and yet I don't want the neighbors to be unreasonable in their opposition, because I want you to succeed. And that's always what we're trying to do here. And there's PTSD because of the good time, because we had so many problems with them that it's just.
But I think if you look.
It's more than a good time.
The 90
I'm
days.
just using them as an example.
So
It's also 200 feet it's also within 200 feet of a residential building.
Right.
And while you can have it on the first floor, it's the second floor that we're really talking about now. I don't understand why we don't have a speaker plan. I don't understand why you're not willing to put up any kind of noise baffling. Essentially, the breezeway becomes a reverb center.
But I think they're gonna have to, because they're gonna end up getting noise complaints if they don't do all that stuff.
But why not do
But
it
that's
ahead of
the
time?
cart after the
Well, I
horse.
think they do have noise attenuation, they're having small speakers.
Yeah, but there's no there's nothing that, I mean, I'm looking at this right now, and, you know, code is code, and code is 200 feet of a residential building.
That's a telephoto lens for what it's worth.
No,
That's a what?
no.
That's a what?
You didn't zoom in on your
Yeah,
phone?
There were two
First of all,
photos.
I
There-
don't have a phone, Carter. Secondly,
I didn't hear what he
it's done
said.
with an old-fashioned camera.
Hold on a
No
second.
zoom.
So then the other, one other thing, I would want the 90-day, you know, progress report to be during the peak season. You know, so we don't end up, you know, at some point over the summer, although it is. World Cup.
Whether intentional or not, you're going to get, I believe, the best test you could possibly ask for, and Henry's referred to it. Within that 90 days, the World Cup will happen in Miami.
Yeah, look,
If we are in compliance with with those requirements through the World Cup, I assure you, we will always be in compliance. Henry is right. I mean, let's say one of the team's groups comes and stays in this hotel. I can't stop them from being loud sitting on the pool deck.
Right.
By the way, the order does not allow them to bring their own radio or any boom boxes or anything else onto the property. It specifically says that if an individual wants music, they have to use headphones. I mean, I suspect you've not had the time to go through, but this order has a lot of controls in it, and we're fine with that. We want that. We want to be good citizens. We're not looking to be a problem. Yes, it is true, if you go back a few years, there were problems. But if you look at the staff report, the last noise issue was in 2023. That was for the White Party under a special events permit, and they were cited for a violation at 7 p.m. because they violated their special events permit. It was part of the citywide White Party event. And yes, it happened, and the operator apologized to our hotel for allowing it to happen. It happened. I can't say it didn't happen, but
What
it
was that,
hasn't happened
23 you
monthly.
said? 2023 is the last violation?
That's correct.
well, it's been closed for renovations.
For the last 6 months.
But I think
And it's a
that,
different operator. We have a different operator on
Okay,
site.
good.
Royston has, I mean, we've talked about it. Royston's had numerous conversations with the board. For what it's worth, the board simply said, we don't want to take a position because we don't want to create friction within our building. Otherwise, I think we would have had their support. And one of the objectors, Mr. LaPrage, is a board member. So I understand that. Disappointing, but I understand it. I want to proffer a suggestion to maybe let us all move forward. We would give up the entertainment on that second floor level.
Wait, I beg your pardon?
We would give up the right for entertainment on that second floor level.
Well, that would solve a lot.
That's
And
interesting.
limit it to the first floor. I would also say, today, as you've correctly said, we're allowed to have entertainment and music until 11 p.m., 5 days a week, until midnight, 2 days a week. And you don't see a history of violations here. Yes, there have been. I'm not ever going to say there were no violations.
So what
What
you're,
about- would that
what you're
include-
offering is ambient piped-in music with a dB limiter and no entertainment, no one
On the second
live,
level.
with a drum, a harp, a piano, a singing
No subwoofers.
microphone. That's
And no
that's what
subwoofers.
I was hoping to see in there. That's what reasonable, when you live that close.
I
Does
think
that
it could be
include,
done
does that
without
include
a problem.
special events, or your,
Yeah,
We certainly
sure.
need to be able to have special events there, but we don't.
but
Don't
not,
need
you
to
don't
bond
have
it.
to
Single-
add entertainment?
No entertainment.
Would you agree to no subwoofers anywhere outside?
the breezeway is every bit as much a problem.
I understand that, but,
We've had the experience. We know it.
but that's already, it's already happening. And if they do some attenuation, some further attenuation, that would alleviate some of those. But you did say
I
that you
would
would have
say-
no subwoofers.
Yes, I have
Okay.
no problem with us limiting subwoofers. That's not a problem. We can make the system work without them, and I understand the problem.
Uh-huh.
The only thing I would say on the special events permit is 1,500 Richard Steps as the adjoining property has to sign off on them, on the application. And they did sign off on the White Party application, okay? So they will know what we're asking for and have an opportunity.
special events.
Wait, is that, I don't understand what you were saying about
Under the city's regulations, they not only get notice, but we need to get their approval for our special events permit. They have given that approval in the past. I would ask that we be allowed to continue that. And we will agree that, and I don't mean individual unit owners with no disrespect to Henry, it has to be the board that that has to speak for the association.
Okay.
But we're okay with that.
Okay. I
And
didn't-
my recommendation to the board, if you agree, is that you, as a condition of your approval, require the neighboring property owner to consent, because I don't actually think that's a requirement of the code.
I've
No,
never
it
heard of
isn't
that.
a code.
Yeah.
That's fine.
They ignore us all the time.
Yeah. All right, I kind of want to wrap this up unless Yashilda would like to make a motion. Is everybody okay with that? You want to hear a motion, or do you still have more questions?
I want to make sure that I've got everything straight
Yeah.
before I
Mr. Chair, if I could, please, I've made a list of all the things that have been discussed, and they all need to be resolved, I think, one way or the other. Agreement not to use subwoofers.
Yeah.
Running some tests on 1,500 terraces. Acoustical panels possible. Special events, Nick accurately advises us that it is possible for the conditional use permit to impose limitations on what the special events can have, such as sound levels prescribed by law or by the conditional use permit shall not be exceeded. We've had a suggestion about percussion and drum sets. Nick has properly suggested that naming instruments might be a problem. Mr. Frieden has suggested that sound should not be audible by residents. Ms. Latone has said we need a speaker plan. Carter has suggested giving up entertainment on the second floor level. There's a lot here, and I
Right,
don't
but
know-
everything you just said, I think, is going to be
Is-
In the motion.
I'll second
embodied
that
in a
motion,
motion.
Henry.
Exactly.
I'll second your motion.
Yeah, thank you.
right.
There you go.
Yeah, no, Henry, we're aware of all those things, so,
Yes,
and I
thank you.
think the motion will encompass those, so,
Thank you.
yeah.
I'd like to make sure
Elizabeth,
that
go
it
ahead.
encompasses. I'll make a motion
Okay.
to approve favorably, move it to the commission with your suggestions and with your
Well,
approval
no,
as well.
no, there's nothing going to the
This is
commission.
your,
I mean, I'm sorry, what am I
Yeah.
talking about?
Oh, right.
I have no idea, but I'll approve that and make a motion to approve it.
Can we have a read back of what all these add-ons
You just
are
did.
besides this?
Yeah, you want to do
So
it?
no subwoofers,
And no subwoofers
subwoofers.
anywhere outdoors, correct?
right,
Correct.
no
Anywhere,
subwoofers anywhere outdoors, no entertainment
No
on the second
entertainment.
floor rooftop deck.
Yes.
doesn't mean we can't have music. It means we can't have a
Correct,
person.
You can have
Correct.
ambient controlled,
Ambient
DB
level.
limited.
Correct. Keep going, Yashil.
Let's see. I
Plainly
mean,
audible from the residents.
Plainly
Oh.
audible for any resident.
plainly audible from the residents, the testing on the resident balconies from the neighboring property, the installation of the acoustic panels to insulate the noise.
A speaker plan that's approved by
Would it
the,
be helpful if I ran through this again?
hold
no.
on.
No, please, no.
we can play it back.
Please, no, we got it.
But Carter, I want you to hear all these things
And,
so
and
that
also the,
we're on the same page.
I would want to put this in. And the inclusion of the proposed revision to subsection C based on the applicant's recommendation.
I would also just
For the valet.
add in a sentence at the end that says, there shall be, I mean, I know it says it probably in elsewhere, but just to make sure that code enforcement can enforce it, because it says to ensure the valet queue is contained, it doesn't really say like that the valet queue must be contained. And I don't think that's gonna be an issue. That's not an issue.
Not an
So-
issue.
so
And
just
that the
add in
board
another
signs
sentence
off.
Saying it must be contained.
The board signs off
On special events.
on special events. And
Yes,
also
1,500 board.
And also, what was,
And one thing also.
Must.
oh,
sign
oh,
off.
that you have
One at a time.
someone on 24-hour notice, or somebody that
I'm
was to be able to be
99% sure
reachable.
that's already in the order, but we agree.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
All right.
Second
Maybe
that.
also provide, and I did try to include this in my summary,
No.
that special event permits shall not authorize exceeding the sound levels of the city code or of the special event permit or
I think
the
that will
modified
already
be in the special
conditional
event
use
Right.
Part of the special
All right,
event.
we,
Okay.
stop, we're done. We have a motion and we have a second.
If I may,
And we're gonna vote.
two
What?
small
Last
clarifications.
comment.
The sign-off should be for a special event that is involving that upper deck, since that's where we're removing entertainment.
Wait,
I
I beg your
think that would
pardon?
be the fair, that the building sign, approval of it would involve that second floor deck, not just any place on the property.
That's correct, but at least that was my understanding when you first
Yeah.
proffered
Right.
that.
Yeah,
I
I'm
want
sorry,
to make
but
sure.
Yeah.
To be clear,
breezeway-
the approval is only for the second floor rooftop deck.
For the special events.
Let me
Correct.
suggest the breezeway.
No,
No,
we're done,
no,
we're
no,
done, we're
please.
done, we're done, we're done, we're done.
One last question, and it's a clarification.
win.
And I don't mean to hold you up. Plainly audible on their building, I assume?
Correct.
And is there an hour limitation? Because under the noise code, it doesn't apply until 11 PM. You can,
The board can impose a stricter requirement as part of your approval,
in terms of the time or the?
in terms of the
You
time.
want to
that-
use your ordinance the way it functions, I think is, Nick has said already.
Well-
If you want to say, 10 PM or plainly audible, I think your noise ordinance is 11, isn't it not?
The noise ordinance is 11, but the board could be stricter and extend the hours. That noise must be could be no louder than plainly audible. I'm sorry, that noise cannot be plainly audible from a neighboring
I would say just stick
residential
to the
property.
hours. I mean, they've already made concessions.
Since it's next door to a neighboring building,
All right, so the motion is to stick to the hours, so let's just vote and if,
yeah, I'm
We
with
got a
that.
second.
okay. So we have a vote and we have a second, so go ahead and do a roll call, please, with all those conditions. And
Okay, let me call the roll. Mr. Marks?
and Deborah, you're
Oh.
comfortable that you have everything memorialized that we discussed?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Great.
Okay, Mr.
Yes.
Marks?
Yes.
Ms. Latone?
Yes.
Mr. Needleman?
Yes.
Mr. Frieden?
Yes.
Mr. Cement?
Yes.
Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Elias?
Yes, and Henry, thank you for your participation. You obviously got some concessions here, and again, going forward, it's an operational issue, and they're all here listening, so, we're confident and hopeful they'll
And we don't
Everybody's
comply with
good.
that.
We don't expect to be here on involuntary
Right,
reports.
okay.
And good luck.
right,
Thank you,
all for
Chair.
your time.
Thank you, members.
Thank you. Okay, new applications, Planning Board File 250802, 7710 Collins Avenue, mechanical parking.
Okay, if we could take any lingering conversations outside, we'll get moved on to our next application, which is PB 250802. Okay, thank you, everyone. An application has been filed requesting a conditional use
A
approval
big crowd for a mechanical parking issue.
for mechanical
What am I missing
parking.
here?
Sorry, go ahead, Deborah.
With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jake Cyberling to present our recommendation.
This is all for 7710?
Yeah.
Oh.
As we mentioned, the applicant is requesting approval for mechanical parking lifts within a new 5-story apartment hotel building on the site. Although there is no parking requirement for the proposed use, the applicant is providing a total of 9 parking spaces, 8 within 4 mechanical lifts in a tandem configuration, and 1 traditional space. Access to the parking area is from the alley and will be operated 24 hours a day by a valet attendant. 4 additional temporary parking spaces are located within the parking area to more efficiently store and retrieve cars from the lifts. The applicant has provided plans to demonstrate how the parking could be provided using conventional parking spaces. However, staff finds that the use of mechanical lifts results in a higher level of compatibility with the surrounding urban environment, as the lifts do not require a curb cut along Collins Avenue. Additionally, the lifts are located within an enclosure and are not visible from the right-of-way or surrounding properties. The Transportation and Mobility Department has reviewed the project and has included several recommended conditions that have been incorporated into the attached draft COP. Finally, staff would note that the DRB is scheduled to consider the project on Thursday, December 11th. With that, staff is recommending approval of the COP.
Matt?
Good morning, Matt Amster with law firm of Burke, Howard L. Fernandez, Larkin, and Tapanis, offices at 200 South Biscayne Boulevard in Miami, here today representing 7710 Collins Avenue LLC, which is the applicant and owner of the subject property. I have the owner here, Andre and his wife, Andre Melnick, and our team, which, you know, I came to be prepared, but we'll keep it brief. They're just, I have to, you know, make sure that when Carter comes, I have to show our force. But in any event, we have a design team from Yodazine, Edwin Parada, and Robin Anazin, as well as Kobe Karp's office, and from Kobe Karp is Matthew Picard. On Zoom, we have Jose Alvarez, our landscape architect. I believe also have representatives from the Klaus parking lifts on Zoom. Adrian Dobkowski is here from Kinley Horn, and my colleague Mitch Tozian, who handed out 2 letters of support that we have obtained. We have a presentation, if you could call that up. This is a very, very much smaller, almost incidental type of hotel than what you just saw. This has 0 food and beverage operations, no entertainment, no outdoor speakers. Very, very, very small in comparison. Go to the next slide. Here's our context. We're in North Beach. The building fronts Collins Avenue, but there's no entrance for vehicles there. Everything is at the rear in the alley. You can see, everything's small scale, narrow lot, and there is a nearby park right within walking distance. Next slide. Here's just our existing conditions. Today, on the left side is at the front, there's a 2-story small residential building. At the rear, on the right side, is a small 1-story residential building. Next slide. So we are here to just solely for the mechanical lifts to assist with the parking so that there's parking right on the property, 24/7 valet operation. All of the parking operation happens on the property. Vehicles do not have to drive around the neighborhood at all. You drop your car off inside the garage level from the alley at the rear, and you pick it right back up at the same location. So very efficient, and this will assure that there is no impact in the neighborhood. Andre and his wife do plan to live at the apartment unit and operate this hotel to ensure that it is done appropriately. And with that, I'm gonna, one mention, while I handed out 2 letters of support, there was a neighbor meeting at the nearby park, actually quite well attended. So we presented the project and answered questions. I'll add a condition of approval at the end, but right now, just to give you a brief overview, here's Matt.
Good morning, everyone. Matthew Picard with Kobe Karp Architects, 571 Northwest 28th Street, Miami, Florida. Here, as you can see, we've got some renderings. We've got a view from the front there on the east facade along Collins with large projecting balconies and upgraded landscaping and sidewalk condition there for the pedestrian. The view on the right is the building, as you can see from the northeast. I just want to point out on the bottom there at the ground level, that's where we have our parking in the fully enclosed area at the ground floor. And also note that the inboard balconies there along the side of the building. No projections. Everything's projecting out to the east towards the ocean and the view. This is a further close-up of the north facade there, so you can see the screening on the right and the fully enclosed parking there at that ground level. Here you can see the elevations. We've called out some materials. We have a material board there. If you're interested in seeing it, we're kind of taking this driveway for DRB, so wanted to just show you the overall facade. And here you can see we've highlighted where the location of the parking lifts are. We do have a fence area that is where the cars do maneuver on property, and I'll show you that in plan, but the location of the parking lifts are fully enclosed within a garage space. This is the view of the south, again reflecting the enclosure on the ground level. Here we have the existing context elevation. You can see the small 2-story structure reflected there next to its neighboring 7700 Collins and 7728. And now This is what we're proposing, just to give you an idea how this fits into the context and fits right into the streetscape along the 7700 block. Here we have the ground floor. I don't know if I can use the mouse. Here we go. This area here, whoops, that is the enclosed area of the parking. There are 4 mechanical lifts there. That's the, that's the area in question. Yeah, if you can fix that, thank you. Sorry about that. But you can see we've got the landscaped area there along Collins Avenue. Nice staircase going up. We've got handicap accessibility along the street, and we've got upgraded landscape from the existing condition, and that fence is gone. So now you've got a real street condition and pedestrian experience there that ties into the neighboring buildings. You can see on the south side, we've got our pedestrian access all the way along to the alleyway. And as you can see on the west, that's where our vehicular access comes in. There's a maneuverability space that allows you to turn the car around, valet drop-off, ADA parking, and then we have our 4 mechanical lifts enclosed within that garage space. Adjacent to that, we have 20 long-term bicycle storage and 6 short-term bicycle storage spaces, along with 3 scooter parking spaces as well. We did have to do the alternate plan to show you that we could park on site and what it would look like if we did. As you can see, in this case, the challenge here was to get turnaround space and maneuverability all within the space while maintaining those 9 parking spaces that we're requesting. And we were able to do it, but we have to exit onto Collins. And really that's where the challenge comes, is exiting onto Collins and having to deal with the FDOT, and then also just how tight the site becomes. We lose all of that front setback and the ability to really enhance the front yard there and the pedestrian experience on the street. Just to walk you through the buildings, these are our typical unit levels. You can see the inboard balconies on the north. And then we are proposing an amenity rooftop. We're just providing a small swim spa and a few lounge chairs, and we are buffering that space to the neighbors to the north with some landscaping, as you can see in the plan in green. And and also to the south, we're buffering with the actual core itself. And here we have our landscape plan. You can see it's quite an improvement from what's there today. And then we also have the landscape on the roof. And this is a detail of the parking screen that's being proposed. The louver detail is utilized in the location of the maneuverability of the cars. And then you can see, the parking lifts are fully enclosed within the garage, as indicated on the bottom left of the screen there. And this is an interior view, just a massing that you can see of that maneuverability space within the site, with the enclosure there of the parking and a detail of the lifts. And I think that's the last slide, right?
Yeah, this was fully vetted through with our traffic engineer and the city's transportation department and their consultants, and approved. There's operational conditions about valet operations being 24/7, having the valet operator there already in the conditions, and we agree to those. If you go to the next one, as far as the rooftop.
Curious, with the mechanical parking, are there like generators that are backup in case electricity goes off? How does that work?
No, I believe that it becomes mechanical in the event that there's no power. The lifts can be lowered mechanically to get the cars off, you know. They don't continue to operate, I do not think. I could be, that's my general understanding. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you're correct.
Yeah.
It's not a generator, really?
There is a generator, I think, for the project, but no,
For the
I think
building,
that
yeah.
the lifts, if the power turns off, they're hydraulic, right? So I believe, I'm not the expert, but I believe that once you remove the car on the bottom, you can kind of release the hydraulic and it'll lower the car
Alright,
safely.
So they're not stuck.
So they're not
Okay,
stuck, yeah.
okay.
And then after that, you can't use it again until you get power back.
And how many units in the building?
It's 15 total. It's 14 hotel and 1 apartment. So it's formerly an apartment hotel. And again, you know, the operator is here to manage that.
North Beach Improvement, yay.
You were continuing, go ahead.
Yes, no, just as far as the rooftop, you know, we wanted to just ensure, again, no food and beverage, no entertainment. In fact, there's such a narrow lot, there's no room for any of that. Oh, by the way, no special event permits, that's already a condition in here, but you can't do this where we're at anyway. But just to make sure that the rooftop has, you know, minimal impact, we will make sure to add a condition that isn't yet in there, but please, we proffer this. The applicant agrees that the proposed roof deck shall be used solely by residents and hotel guests and shall only operate between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. So again, no outdoor speakers up there either. So again, those will be minimally impactful, operated by, you know, the owner, as well as the lush landscaping helps the also all the screening and the definitely enclosed parking. We do go to design review board on Thursday, where the whole design itself will be vetted. And with that, our team is here to answer any questions. We respectfully request approval with our one added condition. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody in here to speak on this, other than the applicant? You? No? Okay, anyone on Zoom?
Yes, we have on Zoom Kristen Spillane.
Sorry, before we hear from the public, are there any ex parte communications on this application?
Keith, any disclosure? No? No? Okay.
Okay.
Hi.
Good morning. Do you swear that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Spillane. I'm a resident of 7728 Collins Ave, one of the buildings that directly is adjacent to this property. And I'm here to strongly oppose PB 250802 for mechanical parking here at 7710 Collins Ave. I have a few points I want to walk you through. Number one, this mechanical parking system would introduce significant noise. We're talking about metal clanking, motors, vibration, and this is happening just feet from neighboring bedroom windows. Nothing like this exists anywhere else in our RM1 residential zone. And you even saw it earlier in the presentation. This lot is extremely narrow. It sits between 2 condo buildings. A mechanical lift in this location is just simply incompatible with the quiet, low-density residential block that we have. Second point, traffic and congestion are already issues in the 1-lane Collins Court alley, which is used by residents, service trucks, FPL, and garbage collection. Adding any sort of valet operations and lift-related delays would create blockages and safety concerns. Earlier, Matthew walked through some plans, and as a resident with a small sedan that I drive, I have major concerns about the sizing and the spacing that they're talking about. In terms of the alley access and room for car maneuverability, it's honestly a challenge to get in and out if I'm trying to enter my parking garage and someone else is exiting. I just don't see how those specs they presented would be remotely feasible with a valet operation and the volume that would come with this proposal. My third point, these systems, these mechanical parking systems, carry operational and safety risks. Breakdowns are common. This owner has a history of zoning violations. A malfunction could not only block the alley, but also create hazardous conditions. And as we just heard, the application provides no manufacturer details, specs, or contingency plans. We heard about a general understanding of what might happen in a power outage, but nothing concrete. Approving this would set a negative precedent by introducing a high-intensity, quasi-commercial system into an RM1 neighborhood designed for quiet residential living. This proposal benefits one property owner at the expense of dozens of long-established neighbors. I respectfully urge this board to reject PB 250802 and require the applicant to follow the same conventional parking standards as every other building in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, our next speaker is John Henke.
Hi, John. Do you swear the testimony you'll give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, members, chair, and members of the board. My name is John Hickey. I'm a resident at 7700 Collins, one of the original owners here as well. I have been a DRB and HDC commissioner for 17 years in the state of Michigan, so I'm intimately familiar with these types of projects. To be sure, we had counsel for our board send a letter to the commissioners, both to you and the design review board. I believe it may have reached you yesterday, so I'm not sure it's in your packets or not, outlining a number of concerns and objections that we have, not only to the project itself, but certainly to the mechanical parking. I don't know if Ms. Tackett can tell me whether or not that did reach each of the board members.
I don't believe I received it, so I wouldn't have been able to transmit it.
Okay. I will double check with council and make sure that gets to all of the board members. The concern here is not just the mechanical parking, but the project in and of itself and some of the representations that the developer is making with respect to the proposal. As a cargo, I can tell you unequivocally, mechanical lifts make a lot of noise. Also, I would dispute Mr. Picard's representation that in the event of a power loss, these are hydraulic. These tend to be manually operated at that point. They don't all have fail safes on them. So in a lot of instances, those cars are stuck. They go nowhere. As Ms. Spillane pointed out, there is no compatibility of this project with the neighborhood and the RM1 zoning. The context elevation that's been presented is misleading. It presents ocean blue to the south of us and then gives nothing to the north. The entire block from 77 to 7800 is comprised of our two buildings and the house in between. There is nothing else. As you go further north on Collins, it continues with 5-story condominiums. The alleyway and to Harding is all 2-story buildings. So this would be the only, quote, hotel anywhere in this section of North Beach. There isn't another one. We've seen no traffic report with respect to the use of the alley. I went through the packages that were submitted and they're online. This would be the only means of ingress and egress for servicing of this building for whatever, even without F&B. You've got maintenance workers, you've got trash workers, you've got a number of operational concerns, none of which the applicant has addressed. It's a transient use of a hotel that's not consistent with RM1. Again, I hope to get that letter in front of you so you can see exactly the number of other concerns we have. The other that I do have, the one thing that I do want to call out is in the initial applicant's presentation, he claimed the applicant's plan to live in this apartment unit. I would question that. The Developers LLC is listed in a condo at Sands Point Condo in Sunny Isles, which is currently a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,120 square foot unit. Currently on Realtor.com as a rental at $10,000 per month. There was a representation that he and his wife and children would all live in the apartment unit, which, as you can see from the drawings, consists of an 892-foot unit. So I don't believe the operator truly intends to live in this and operate this apartment complex. We've got additional concerns which we'll raise with the DRB on Thursday morning, but as to the mechanical lift and the portion that's in front of the board, we object to it for those reasons stated and the additional ones articulated in our objection letter that was sent to Ms. Tackett, which you don't have.
Mr. Hickey, I have a question. Are you,
Sure.
what are you in Ocean Blue? What building are you?
No, I'm at 7700 Collins. I'm
You're
in
at
the building
7700, okay.
immediately adjacent on the south side to the proposed project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
And I am a board member. I am a board member for Villamure is the
Thank you.
complex.
Anybody else on Zoom? No? And nobody else in here? Okay, we'll close public hearing. You want to address, oh, I'm sorry.
People from the public here.
Okay. I asked earlier, nobody stood up, so.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'm Sandra Payne, and I reside at 6700 Indian Creek. I've been a Miami Beach resident for over 20 years, And I also represent many businesses in North Beach, that this hotel would add so much value to our city and also the park and everything that's happening in our community. So I would like to, and hydraulic system also, 6080 Collins Avenue has the hydraulic system in place. And it does not make sound or noise. In addition to the height restrictions, 72 Park is also a condo residential hotel that's being built.
You're at Eden House?
I'm at Eden House.
You're my neighbor, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Not in the same building, but you don't have issues with the traffic or anything like that? I mean, we have serious problems.
We don't. We have the same system in our building at Eden House, which is the rotunda, and we have a valet. And it's just fairly easy. We just leave the cars and they go through the rotunda, and there's an entrance there that leads the vehicles into a gate that opens that does not affect the Collins traffic.
And how is the noise in your building?
Great. We do not have an issue.
You don't hear the parking?
No. Not at all. Any other questions? And I think it would be a great asset for the neighborhood. As per the business owners there, they need this. You know, the walkability and the park. I run there 3 times a week, and there's so many homeless. And we need to change that area. You know, you have these 2-story hotels that are smaller, but this is a boutique luxury hotel that's going to add value, in my opinion. And I love my neighborhood, and I want to see it thrive and grow with the community.
Me too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Was there anyone else here to speak? No?
Hello, board members. I'm Evgeny Rabchuk, and as well to tell the truth. So basically, I've been...
Can you state your name and address as well?
Evgeny Rabchuk, so Jay, basically. So I've been a member of, I've been living in this neighborhood about since 2010, and permanently is 3 years. So I have a property at 6610 Indian Creek Drive. So basically, I'm here to support the construction. So I believe this would bring the value to this neighborhood. So personally, I go to the park, which is nearby, every weekend, and it's, I notice a lot of homeless people over there, and not just homeless, it's just, I don't know, drug-ish kind of people look like. So sometimes I feel like it's not really safe there. So I think this would just bring the good sense of neighborhood, and it's gonna be growing in a good way. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we do have an additional person on Zoom
Okay.
that just popped up, Charlotte Light.
Hi, Charlotte. Do you swear that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, hi.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I sent an email to you all directly last week, and so in efforts to not duplicate, this same information, I live at 7728 Collins. I'm on the board. That's the building that is directly north of the 7710 Collins development. And just a few points. I appreciate Sandra Payne coming and explaining to you that she doesn't hear any noise issues. That building to scale is completely different than ours. She lives in, what is that, a 16-story, 96-unit building? This is much smaller. The issues that you guys have experienced today with the Royal Palm Hotel and residents that were, complaining about noise, we are even closer than them. We're 20 feet away. When we talk about neighborhood safety, the entirety of that block is completely residential. when you bring in an opportunity to have transient housing on a nightly basis, that directly affects safety for our neighborhood. I don't know if you can hear, but my 2-year-old daughter is running around by my knees right now, and I'm just terrified of having a building that's going to be built within 20 feet of my growing family. We weren't prepared to have any discussions today beyond the issue of mechanical parking, but it seems pretty clear that, you know, a bunch of heavy hitters came to present, and a lot of more additional information is being shared about the proposed plans of this development. So what I would ask is to keep to the item at hand. Let's address the issues that our residents have regarding the mechanical parking, and then we can have further conversations in the next 2 days with DRB for the hearing on Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you. That it? All right, closing public hearing.
Mr. Chair, if I may have just a few words of rebuttal?
Sure.
So just to be, I think that the application is very transparent. We're not hiding anything. This is an RM1 district, and a portion of it, of which the property is located, I think it's 72nd up to maybe not even 80th. There's a small area that, by code, allows apartment hotels as a permitted use. So the entire area is not residential, but the area that we are, our local context, allows for this use. It is very small and minor. We are not projecting into our side setbacks to be respectful to our neighbors. That will be both screened and heavily landscaped. And while we could have our balconies fully project, well, not fully, but, you know, projecting noticeably into those areas, which would likely then take away from the landscape buffer. So this is also a fully compliant project. The height, setbacks, everything is compliant with the code. When we go to the design review board, it's compliant, and there's no variances whatsoever being asked. So we basically have a project just for design approval on Thursday, with today just the mechanical parking lifts. This is perfect infill development. There's substandard uses there today that, you know, dilapidated buildings that, while being kept up and maintained, are not the highest and best use. But also, this new building will make the environment safer. There'll be a lobby with a person there regularly, right? The valet also is there 24/7. About the valet operation, we had a full traffic study. It's in with the application documents, vetted by all. There's conditions been added, which we agree to. Our valet operation is 100% completely internal to the property. Even our loading, there's a condition about loading operations. I know there's not that many for this property, will have to also take place from the alley inside the property. The trucks will go in and come back out to not be a traffic hindrance in the alley.
Which alley is the shared alley that the caller had referred to? She says that the alley was shared with the other building, so which alley are we talking about that is shared?
Yeah, it's the street that's on the west side of the project.
It's a cross block from 78th to 77th. It runs the whole length of the block.
Okay.
It's a one-way southbound alley.
It's one way. And you will be accessing
20 feet wide.
from Collins Court, okay.
Staff, when the affected neighbors get notices, do they have access to the proposed conditions in the CUP? Is that available publicly?
Correct. We published that online approximately a week
So
before.
the proposed CUP that's in here? Okay.
Correct.
All right. Because, I mean, there's a lot of conditions in there. I want to make sure that they're aware of what those are. But anyway, go ahead. Keith, any questions? No. Scott?
Just the one thing I heard, which is just maybe you can address, one of the comments that they had was about the noise from the mechanical system. I mean, you could see on the renderings, it is fairly close to the adjoining building, so maybe you can address.
Well, it's completely enclosed, which is also required by code, right? There is not just screening, there is a solid wall around the area of these units, and.
So there's no.
But do they
nothing
make
open?
noise, these mechanic, do they?
No, maybe older models did. I believe we have someone from Klaus, Amanda, perhaps.
Yeah, and
maybe
if
will
I could,
raise her
Mr.
hand if you
Chair,
want
I
to
have
speak.
personal experience with this. The building I live in has the Klaus system, right? So I own one of these lifts. Mine are old. Mine are from 2005, and my unit is immediately on top of our garage, which has multiple, I think we have 20 lifts. Mine personally makes noise. Like I can hear when people are using them, but it is so muffled. It is almost, I have very good hearing. It is almost imperceivable. So that's from my personal experience. I again live on top of these, immediately on top of about 20 of these that are up and down at all times of the day. And it has never disturbed my
It's likely
peace.
that in an enclosed space with the distance of the neighbors, that it's not going to be a real issue.
From my experience, if it's, my unit is a Klaus and it's much older than the new ones. I don't have any disruption.
Are you willing to put a condition saying can't be plainly audible, the lift itself, can't be audible to the adjacent property?
Sure, I mean, that's exactly what the enclosure is meant to do.
Right, so then there shouldn't be a problem, and that should quell
there-
the neighbors' concerns.
I don't know if there is a condition that already addresses that, but we're happy to agree to.
Yeah, and I would just like a condition that I brought up earlier, that if there is a power outage, that there clearly is a method for cars to be lowered and
Right.
released.
Either manually or the generator.
I don't know if that requires a generator or whether they, like you said, they automatically work to lower.
We have someone from Klaus on the Zoom, and they can speak to that.
Okay.
If that's.
Yeah,
If
great.
Amanda could raise your hand.
I hope she's still there. yeah.
Amanda, if you're there, can you raise your hand on the Zoom call?
And since Amanda will be testifying,
Well, we gotta see if she's there.
I see Bridget?
Yes, yeah, that's also from Klaus, yeah.
Okay, Bridget, turn your mic on.
Bridget, do you swear the testimony you'll give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes. Hi, everyone. This is Amanda Roden, engineering manager from Klaus Parking. So I would like to speak on the sound of the lifts. We actually have the lifts installed at a project nearby, which is comparable to this one. It's 8421 Crespi Boulevard. We have 10 lifts installed, which is a boutique apartment building. The sound is inaudible, and for this project, the sound comes from the power pack. So for this project, we would only need one power pack, and the sound is inaudible. We actually have sound studies. And it's equivalent to an AC unit, the sound of that. And also to bring the system down in a power outage, you release the locks on each side, which the valet attendant or somebody on a maintenance person on site, we teach them how to do that. Or as well, we offer 24/7 emergency calls. And we're right down the street, so we have our technicians that can come out in case of any, if the person on site doesn't know how to bring the car down.
All right, but they definitely function in a power outage.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, you can bring the car down,
Right,
but
can't
you
raise
cannot
it.
lift it
Correct.
back up.
Are these just stackers?
Yes, these are
stackers,
just
right? Just stackers.
double stack.
All right, any questions of her while she's on the Zoom call? All right, thank you so much.
I have a question
Thank
though
you.
for
Go ahead.
applicant. So obviously this is gonna be, let's call it a short-term hotel stay. Is there, I know that Just Mechanical is under our purview, but is there any plan to have concierge or security in the lobby just to make sure that North Beach doesn't become what South Beach is trying to veer away from?
And have that not come back.
Well, I think that just by having, an owner operator, living there.
They can move though, so I'm just curious.
No, but the intent of an apartment hotel is that the apartment is where the person who's managing the facility is there.
Of course.
Now, I don't know if there'll be 24/7, attendee in the lobby, but I'm sure that there'll be security, It's a hotel, so you'll need a key after hours or to call someone to be able to be let in. I'm sure there'll be security camera system. I'm sure that they'll provide all of that to, again, secure their property and have it be safe for their guests and for the neighborhood.
I'm also curious, since this is kind of my neighborhood, how large are the units? I haven't seen any of that, so I'm not familiar.
They're fairly small, but they're suite rooms.
What does fairly small mean?
600 square feet, I think is the.
That's
average.
large.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you.
But again, not within our purview, so we couldn't even.
No, I
opine
just
on
am
that.
curious.
Just
No,
curious.
I'm asking for my question. Nick, is that correct?
I mean, you couldn't require that if the applicant made a voluntary proffer. I mean, I think that would be fine, but no, the only thing before you right now is mechanical parking.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Someone want to make a motion?
I would make a motion to approve it with the condition that it is added, that the noise from the lift shall not be plainly audible to the neighboring buildings.
Okay.
Was there anything else?
Our rooftop proffered conditions, right?
Yeah, that you
Right.
volunteered.
Yeah, there was.
Right.
The one voluntary proffer that we've made, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'd like that included.
And Deborah, you have that? Okay, all right. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Let's do this by group. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck with it. All right, last item is a companion item, Planning Board File 250765 and 0766, Washington Avenue Land Development Regulation Amendments and Comprehensive Plan Amendment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So these two items are specific to the CD3 Urban Core Residential Plan. This is for a property located, these were both private applications submitted by the property owner of 1600 Washington Avenue. The LDR amendment and the companion comprehensive plan amendment propose to increase the maximum intensity, or FAR, from the existing 3.0 to 3.25. There's also proposed increase in height from 100 feet to 150 feet. There are no changes to the allowable maximum density, which is 150 units per acre. There are several other modifications, including parking reduction and mobility fee waiver that are part of the currently proposed amendments. Now, because the LDR amendment deals with an FAR increase, we are moving through this 6-step process that we have outlined in our code. We had step 1, which was the first hearing in front of the planning board on September 9th. That discussion was then continued to today's meeting so that we could have time for step 2, which was our public outreach meeting. Following the September meeting, we did schedule the public outreach meeting for November 12th. That meeting was well attended. And we did have 5 speakers comment on the subject applications. The primary concerns that several of the speakers expressed were regarding the height of the building. There were some suggestions that community members believed that the 150 feet was overwhelming to the adjacent historic district. And several speakers were requesting that the height be reduced. There was also some concern expressed regarding parking issues, and not being, by reducing the parking requirement within the ordinance, there was a concern that residents of a residential building would park in the neighboring residential parking district, which is the Flamingo Park Historic District, Parking District. There were a few comments regarding design. This, I would point out, is a project that requires Historic Preservation Board review. This was reviewed by the Historic Preservation Board and continued So the Historic Preservation Board is currently working with the applicant and project architect to refine the design, to make it more compatible. But in general, again, the meeting was well-attended, and the primary concern from the members of the public was specific to the height, and we have provided a summary in our staff report of that. Notwithstanding this, staff is recommending that this ordinance move forward with a positive recommendation from the planning board, as well as the comprehensive plan amendment.
Neeson.
I'm here if you have any questions.
Good morning. Neeson Kasdan and Cecilia Torres Toledo with Ackerman LLP, representing the applicant, 420 Lincoln Road, Ambassador Paul Sehas's building, a property. We made a full presentation to you, as you know, on your first hearing, and we have the presentation to go through again if you have any questions or comments. Just to refresh, this is the city's urban core. Lincoln and Road and Washington Avenue is actually sort of ground zero, was historic Miami Beach downtown. The city has been trying for years to stimulate residential development along those areas for permanent residents, and not condominiums, but rental apartments. And this is, in fact, the density that's allowed of 150 units an acre can't be achieved under the current zoning. So Ambassador Sehas, in seeking to fulfill what is the objectives of the city's comprehensive plan, particularly for this area, to provide 24/7 life with residents of this area, has proposed a modest change in the underlying zoning to allow 0.5 increase in FAR from 2.75, increase in height from 100 to 150 feet. Now, I do have this slide presentation to show you, if you'd like, the comparative heights in the area. There are a number of buildings which are as tall or taller, if you could tee this up for a minute, please, presentation. I don't want to take you through it all, but this begins to show you in the urban core, which is the center of greatest activity, where, by the way, there is the greatest need for residential, so people don't have to commute to their jobs. You have the Lowe's Hotel. Of course, you have the new hotel being built at the Convention Center, which is 185 feet. Those are pictures, of course, of the area as Miami Beach's historic downtown. But I'd like to skip to some of the comparative heights that you see there. You have the 407 building, the Clock Tower building, which is over 180 some odd feet in height. You also have right across the street from our proposed building, the former L&R building, which is 124 feet in height. And then towards the beach, you have the Lowe's Hotel, which of course is significantly taller. This is our urban center, our urban core. And this block itself, I can show you, let me go forward a little bit. You'll see this is a needed redevelopment of this block here. That you have the 420 building, which is an important historic building fronting on Lincoln Road, which Ambassador Sehas has invested millions of dollars in maintaining, preserving, and enhancing, including bringing in first-class retail, including a flagship store for Zara. You also have the parking garage that Ambassador Sehas built, which has the timeout market. And this is an area that is really the portion of the block which needs redevelopment. And so for all those reasons, we're here to answer any questions that you may have, but we think this is exactly what is called for this neighborhood, for the city, and it's a modest ask by Ambassador Sehas. Of course, the legislation would also provide there will be no short-term rentals allowed, and it must be rental housing as well. So you won't have a hotel, you won't have short-term rentals.
Okay. I assume no one here to speak on this. Anyone on Zoom?
Yes, on Zoom, we have our first speaker is Johan Moore.
morning. Do I need to be sworn in?
No, you do not, since this is a legislative
No,
matter.
but tell us the truth, Johan.
As always, and thank you very much. Good morning to the board and to staff. I trust that Meridian Court Communities white paper has made the rounds. I don't want to go into the specifics in that, but I would like to cover a range of comments in my 3 minutes about this building. North of Lincoln Road is an entirely different animal from south of Lincoln Road in terms of the impact on our historic district. There is no objection to an impact of a heat island nature or of a blocking sunshine, contrarily, one or the other being an issue, for properties north of Lincoln Road, including on the Lincoln Lane North parking lots, provided obviously that they don't rise to 300 or 400 or 500 feet. This property makes a claim, among others, that approval should be based on the fact that there are nearby buildings that are higher, specifically nearby buildings that are in different zoning districts. There lies the beginning of the slippery slope, and one can imagine further claims deeper into the neighborhood being made based on an approval, should it be granted, for this building. I want to point out that there is not opposition as such to this proposal. There is only opposition to its disproportionate excessive impact on our neighborhood. I went and reviewed the site the other day and was struck by the somewhat dilapidated condition of a very charming Spanish Revival residential building across the street that has louver windows. When we think of the heat island effect that this proposal, irrespective of its height, but certainly exaggerated by that not modest height increase, but 50% increase over the normally allowed 100 feet, when we think of the heat island effect that's going to impact that building across the street, that building will at a minimum require new windows. In terms of various assertions in the letter of intent, in addition to the point 3 claiming approval based on nearby high-rises, I would argue that multiple other points, including specifically 8, 9, and 10, are both unsupported and easily rebutted. Light and air to adjacent areas are affected. Property values, such as that modest building across the street, will, I would argue, decline as the heat island effect specifically affects that building. So I'm gesturing in the direction of various mitigations that could happen. I was also struck by an earlier development proposal today and neighbors' concerns. I'm sorry, may I have another minute or two?
A minute, go ahead.
Thank you. By neighbors' concerns about unresponsiveness. We had reached out to Cecilia Torres Toledo to specifically ask for modifications of aspects of this proposal and received a rather unhelpful response. We are not opposed to the proposal as such, but for the developer to claim that the project can only pencil out by imposing negative impacts on our neighborhood is not acceptable. Should you choose to go forward with this, we would ask that you consider imposing conditions. That extra 50% height should require affordable housing and various other, I think, mitigations, including specifically a seismic monitoring requirement in order to prevent uncompensated damage to contributing buildings. We would urge that those be two conditions that you impose. We also would prefer that you wait until the next meeting, after which time the neighborhood association will have had the opportunity to weigh in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, our next speaker is Jessica Pita.
Thank you, Planning Board, for having me. First and foremost, I want to commend everyone for showing up to this meeting, for all the varied proposals. I love seeing this engagement. I am at work, but I've been able to leave it on in the background. So I think that we're sensing an overall trend in Miami Beach of development fatigue. That's the way I interpret this. You're starting to see a lot more community involvement and lack of trust, if you will. Residents, citizens feeling like things are being passed and permitted, and then they jump in and say, wait, no, I didn't know that. So there's a lack of understanding of the implications of a lot of these projects until they're right at our doorsteps, both literally and figuratively speaking. Now, getting on to this specific project at 1600, as I know my time is limited, let me tell you, Mr. Neeson and lovely Miss Cecilia, that I've had the privilege to meet in person and see via Zoom. Let me tell you something. This block, curiously, I do call it curious, is already zoned CD3. So you guys already have, and your honorable ambassador, Tejas, the owner of the property, this property and others, and what a fortunate guy. You know, we are so happy for him that he probably lives very comfortably having all these properties in Miami Beach, and God bless him. I want everyone to be comfortable and successful and happy, but not at the cost of our neighborhood, not at the cost of our historic district, South Beach Art Deco Historic District, just like you see it on those pretty brown signs as you're going into the beach. Let me get back to what I was saying. This block already has the city center status, which was curiously zoned that way about 20 years ago. Mr. Cejas still owned it back then, right? Kind of curious, right? Maybe he knew. This is, of course, speculation. Maybe he knew, oh, one day I'm going to want to build something pretty tall there. Can we kind of fix that zoning up a little, guys? Maybe. Just saying. So you already have that. And then you guys have the audacity, I'm writing this down, Post-it notes, as I am a teacher, guys. So Mr. Neeson, he comes and says, we're just, and Miss Cecilia, we're just asking for minor, modest changes. Guys, come on now, be real. You already have CD3. You already have CD3 that's right there, that's back to back. We rub shoulders with residential historic Flamingo Park neighborhood. Let me have a little bit more time, please. Is that okay?
Yeah, but you don't need to be so facetious. Just state your case.
I bet that's Scott. I don't have the video up. He's good at reeling me back in. He just has that great energy. And that is something that I'm sincerely working on. I really am trying to do deep breaths, but
All right, just make your point. Go forward.
got you. Yes, sir. If you look at this property, 1600, if you're facing west and you look west, what you see is sky. Beautiful sky, nothing tall. It needs to stay that way. There's also a palm tree there. There's also a curved building there. This fits in with the continuity of the Art Deco neighborhood. That's the only curved building in that quadrant. Also, you have El Chalan right there across the street, and then across the street, I think there's that Yucca. There's squares. Those curved buildings are precious. They are monumental to the district. You know, I'm against this. Lastly, on Zillow, do a quick search. You'll find more than 300 units. I looked quickly while on the call, between 300 and 500 units, under $2,500. The city needs to get better. Incentivizing rehab of our historic infrastructure instead of just thinking that we have to be nice to business people, nice to owners in the district by letting them build. There is another way. There are so many more innovative ways to do business, okay? And I guess that's it. And sorry that I did get heated. That's something I'm working on. One of my character flaws. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Adam Shedroff. Adam, you can unmute yourself, please.
Oh, that's better. Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank the planning board for allowing me to address the issues. Just briefly, though, let me mention that I haven't had an issue personally with Ambassador Sejas in addressing the issue. On previous issues, I've asked to meet with him, and he's met with me personally and discussed the issues. So I don't think that's an issue. I think that the issue should stick strictly to the proposal. This proposal is not only CD3 zoning, but it also has the city center designation, so it's already allowed additional height. I think that the time the city center designation was allowed, it already allowed for the maximum compatible height for our historic neighborhood. And I don't think that additional height or massing are justified in this case. One other issue, though, is the parking. The Zone 2 parking in Flamingo Park is completely full. If you come back in the evening from work, there's no place to park. You can park 3, 4, 5 blocks away. And it was represented by the council of this applicant that all the parking would be inside the garage. However, that wasn't a part of the application. At the Flamingo Park Neighborhood Association, the counsel for the applicant indicated that at this meeting, it would be incorporated into the proposal that parking would not be allowed within the Flamingo Park neighborhood or public parking. I'd like to find out if that has been added, and if not, I think it should be a condition. Just because there's parking available or spaces available in a garage doesn't mean that somebody won't have several cars or won't find it convenient if they're driving home to park on the street. So I'd like to ask if that condition has been added, and if not, request it. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Anybody else?
Yes, one last speaker, Alec.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for your time, everyone, and thank you for the presentation. I'm a property owner at 1568 Pennsylvania Avenue, so approximately 1.5 blocks away from the proposed site along 16th Street. I was not able to attend the previous meeting. However, reviewing the urban core legislation impact items, I am concerned about the bullet point on their presentation for minor peak hour increases in traffic. Specifically due to that the property entrance doesn't have any sort of designated ride share drop-off pickup zone. I'm really concerned. I know a lot of these future residents are like that. They're targeting young, affluent nurses and doctors. I am concerned about the impact that will have on the area. More importantly, I am concerned about the rainwater impact of the balconies as they drain off onto 16th Avenue. Within the past year, my car has been flooded several times in high impact events. Thanks to the city, we now have access to nearby garages. However, I am concerned. I would like to know how the proposed development plans to mitigate flooding of our neighborhood streets along 16th Avenue from rainwater. And lastly, like the previous speaker, I'm mostly concerned about the residents of this future building getting access to Zone 2 parking. The parking in the area is very limited for Zone 2 residents, specifically during peak season. And like the previous speaker said, for those of us that work 9 to 5 jobs or sometimes 9 to 8 jobs, when we get home at the end of the day, there's not enough parking for us to park in. So I would really like to see if this is passed by the planning board, black and white legislation from that residents will not be able to apply for a Zone 2 parking permit. Thank you.
Yeah, just to respond to your one comment, we don't approve it. We just recommend it to the commission. Ultimately, the commission will decide. Thank you. Neeson, you want to
Yeah,
address?
Mr. Chair, if I may respond and sort some of these things out so it has proper context as well. First of all, for those issues with respect to the particular design, those will be determined by the Design Review Board, obviously not this board. This is a legislative matter to change the, and the comp plan to change the FAR and the height. With respect, just particular, an issue that was raised by a couple of people, which was no residential use of residential parking. This board did consider and approved a conditional use permit for the project with specific condition that the residents of this building cannot have residential parking in the neighborhood. Separate process, but that's already been taken care of and is in your order. I'd also like to point out, we're here at our prior meetings, but this legislative change has been endorsed by the Lincoln Road bid as well as the Washington Avenue bid. And in its broader context, this is almost the poster child. If we really want to incentivize residential development along the Washington Avenue corridor, and Commissioner Suarez, who is sitting here, has been trying for 2 years to do that, and this falls also within the parameters of his proposed legislation as well, then this is it. If we can't do it here, then we're not serious about really incentivizing residential development in the urban core of our city. The final thing I would like to say, I know it was mentioned about Ambassador Sejas. Ambassador Sejas purchased this property about 30 years ago, the entire block, when nobody was investing in Lincoln Road. He had the faith and the confidence and the willingness to invest his money when other people weren't. And he's not a flipper who bought the property and sold it. He's held it for 30 years, has put millions and millions of dollars in upgrading the property, is maintaining one of the most, probably the largest historic building in the city, the 420 building itself. And he is asking to redevelop that portion, the 1600 Washington Avenue corner, to fulfill what everyone in the city wants, which is more residential housing. I think he should be lauded for his commitment to this neighborhood, to the city, not to mention all the other great things he has done for this city, from the Bass Museum on down, but lauded for his trying to make this a better neighborhood and a better 24/7 community. So we, again, would appreciate your supportive vote for this. Thank you.
Okay. Are you speaking on this? Okay. All right, we're closing public hearing, and Keith?
As I said when Neeson was in front of us before, I think it's a great project, and I'm fully supportive.
Okay.
Yeah, when it came up before, I mentioned that if there's anywhere in the city that we should increase our FAR, it's the city center. This building is kind of right on the border of that, and it is a rather large building. And if this was north of Lincoln Road, great. It's bordering right at to the low-scale neighborhood, 2- and 3-story buildings right across the street from it to the south. With that being said, I could see myself voting to recommend this, but I'd like to see 2 things in our recommendation. These are things I mentioned before. One is that there has to be, and I leave this up staff or the commission, some sort of articulation in the building, setbacks, things like that, something to make it more, more compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. Like I said, you have a 150-plus story building across the street from 2- and 3-story buildings. So I think our recommendation should be that there has to be setbacks or some kind of articulation on the facade, something like that. And I leave it to staff. I don't know what those are, but I'd like to see that in our recommendation. Also, and I brought this up before, a lot of these other larger projects that we're asking for FAR increases, we ask for a public benefit. I think we should ask for one here, but commensurate with the increase in density you're asking for. I'm not saying a park. I don't know what that is, but I think our recommendation should be to the commission to have some kind of public benefit. And if those 2 things are in our recommendation, I'm going to go along with it and vote in favor.
Jonathan?
No, I think we've covered a lot of these issues. The last time and to the residents' concerns about parking, I think it was covered as part of the conditional use permit, so I don't think there's anything we need to do here.
Just to restate what I've always thought, there should be a springboard for more thoughtful residential development in the city's core. So I'm supportive.
Agree. Melissa?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I'm supportive, just as we were last time. But there's one thing that came up today that I have a question. Is it correct that there's no drop-off or pickup spot where that has been integrated in the design of the building?
Well, there is a driveway in the building on the, and not that this is the planning board consideration, but there is in the alley that bisects the block. You know, there's a alley that's in the middle of that block, and that alley will be able to be used for the cars to go in and out
So
and drop off.
an Uber coming to pick up a resident will be guided to that specific address door entrance?
Well, that is where the parking is, and that's where the drop-off would be. The final design hasn't been done, but it's accounted for, and if you look at the block itself, I'd be happy to bring that back up. You can see they have that internal circulation in the alley.
Okay, because that's just one concern. I mean, I am for these buildings that are trying to reduce some of the parking requirements, but we do need to consider the impact it's having on some of those main streets around there, so.
Hi, Neeson. I am excited about having new housing, especially that supports our workforce. I would like to suggest I'm going to vote in favor of this. I would like to request that parking be required in the garage. I'm afraid that what's happening is I'm seeing more and more projects that are eliminating parking completely. And even if we have a residential base that has, alternative mobility, I think that we need to have some parking. We're going to have people that are going to live in other parts of the city. We're going to have people, driving into Miami. And I just think that we need to have some parking. And if we could use that parking garage, I think that would be
And we are.
helpful.
This ordinance allows us to, and we will be using the garage.
Is that required, though? I mean, I thought it said that you could use it.
Correct. The LDR does not require the parking to be provided, but it allows them
Can
to.
we require that? Would that be something that you would look at? Because I don't want to get away from us having no parking at all.
Well, I think as a practical matter, in order for them to be able to rent units, they're going to have to provide parking
But
anyway.
I want to require that. I would
Well,
ask
that would
of the
be, that would
commission.
go
I
with the
ask that of the
recommendation.
commission. Yeah, I'd ask that of the commission. And also, we're waiving mobility fees. I feel like there needs to be some sort of impact fees that are paid, because I don't know that, it says in several areas that the sewer may be able to handle this, or it might be able to handle that, but there's nothing that shows whether it actually will be able to. So you had said somewhere in the document that it would be, that if it needed to be taken care of, that y'all would finance it. I'd like to somehow address that.
That we have to meet concurrency, but we'll say this as part of the process of doing a land use plan amendment that we are doing. We have had all of those studies done in terms of water capacity, sewer capacity, traffic, et cetera, and it's well able to handle what we are proposing to do. Of course, but the actual, if there need to be any particular upgrades, that comes through the building permitting process where they say you need to widen.
And you'll finance that.
We'll do whatever the city requires for that in order to meet capacity.
Right, the language in the LDR amendment is just specific to the mobility fee.
just
So
wanted to make sure.
county water and sewer fees, all of that would still be applicable.
I just want to make sure. Okay.
All right, so two things. We have to move it
favorably or unfavorably, and then if you want to do a second motion with recommendations, we can do that. So someone want to move it?
I'll move
I'll
it.
make a motion to approve favorably.
Okay,
I'll
second?
second.
Okay, Elizabeth, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're gonna do a second recommendation motion, that we can include yours and vote on that. So they have to go separately. So anyway, go ahead. So you're opposed to the, sorry?
They have to go separately?
Yeah, we'll make a separate motion that in connection with our favorable recommendation, we'd ask that the commission consider whatever you want them to consider, so.
Okay.
I mean, there's no way to,
Okay.
yeah, so, all right, so
So
on.
was that unanimous, Scott? Were you a yes on that last vote?
Yes.
Okay, so that's unanimous. Now, Scott, go ahead and make a motion for a recommendation in connection with the favorable recommendation.
That one, there would be a public benefit commensurate with the increase in density they're asking for, and leave it up to the commission to determine what that is.
Okay.
Matt,
If I could
Nick
just,
is-
Mr. Chairman, the city is constrained as far as what we can require in connection with a private application. I think if the board has had some discussion about setbacks, about other design requirements, about parking. Those are the kinds of things that can be addressed in legislation. But a text amendment like this really should not be conditioned on an applicant, making a grant of a property interest or anything like that.
Well, I don't think we're conditioning. I think what they're saying is that something the commission can consider?
If the applicant were to proffer some sort of public benefit, that's something the city commission
Well,
can
yeah,
consider.
that's why we did it separately. We're not conditioning. We already sent it favorably, and so this is just a motion for the commission to think about.
But I think what the city attorney is telling you is that it's an improper condition. And if I may address this, and I think this is important to understand. First of all, you are approving this based on criteria. Is this a goal of the comprehensive plan? Is this consistent with the comprehensive plan? The goal, the benefit to the city is creating rental housing and not having transient housing and accommodations. That's the big benefit. I don't think we want to ask applicants to be offering money to burden this.
Well, again, Neeson, we can't condition it.
No, but I think it's an important discussion. And I would also point out, this is asking for a 0.5 increase in FAR.
Right.
This is not like, if I may say so, West Avenue, where the FAR went from 2.0 to 5.5, or the Deauville site where it went from 3.0 to over 5.5. We're talking about a very, very modest increase in FAR in order to be able to achieve putting restrictions on our property. It won't be able to be condo. It won't be able to be short-term rental, in order to be able to facilitate what this city has identified as its one of the most important goals for this part of town.
All right, well, Nick just said unless you proffer, we can't do it. So if you're not going to proffer, then we're not going to do it. So, so if that's what I hear you're saying, he'd have to proffer that, so we can't.
If what the board's discussing as far as public benefit is the applicant providing either a financial consideration or
Right.
a property interest, that's something that the board cannot condition its
Okay, all right,
recommendation.
so we're not going to do that. All right.
What was the other one?
What are the recommendations?
The other one was that
More
There-
compatible with the neighborhood.
there needs to be some sort of design consideration.
Right.
Whether it be, a setback above the first floor, or setback above 30 feet, something like that. I don't know what those are, but, right now on Washington Avenue, that is zoning. We talked about the Good Time, that was built, the Moxie was built, above a certain level, it's set back. Some kind of articulation on the facade, something
Something
to
more
make it more
compatible with it.
compatible with the surrounding.
All right, so-
Mr. Chair, may I address that as well?
Again, this is a recommendation
I
to the
understand,
commission.
but just so it's in the proper context, and I understand the concern. But I would point out two things, that number one, across the street, at 1601, the building is 124 feet tall, almost as tall as we were proposing. And this is actually very relevant, there is a large buffer to the west between the proposed building and the residential neighborhood, which is the garage itself. So that is a setback of, well over 100 feet. So I think just by its nature, I think it already is doing that.
Across the street to the south are the 2- and 3-story buildings.
Yes. But, I mean, if you look physically at this property, it's a fairly thin property. If you had to set it back from 16th Street, wouldn't be feasible.
Well,
mean,
if it's not feasible, it's not, but I understand.
Again,
what the-
Design Review Board deals with these issues.
I understand what the city wants to do.
HPB deals.
They want to increase our workforce or market rate housing, but, the city also wants to preserve our
I think that's
district and
gonna be
make
an
new,
HPB
new
issue.
development compatible with surrounding neighborhoods. There's a lot of things that the city wants to do, and there's always a balance somewhere. I honestly, I think what's being proposed is just a blank wall right up on the
But
property line.
HPB is not
But
yet
that's
approved.
Well,
HPB.
but I said what's being
Design
proposed.
review.
What I'm saying is, I'm not gonna, let's say, rely on HPB, or maybe what I think this LDR should do is give the HPB some direction on what to look for, meaning maybe a setback above a certain level, facade articulation, those kind of requirements. I don't specifically what they are, I leave it to staff to come up with something, but, I'm just looking at what's being proposed, and it just doesn't fit in right there.
I just think this is HPB. I mean, I'd love to see it more compatible with the neighborhood, but
Well, I think it should be in the LDRs.
All right,
Certain.
so just make a motion that the commission consider
it
and
being in the
articulate what you
LDR.
want.
Then I would make the motion, or it would be a recommendation that the city commission explore design guidelines
For this core,
for this
urban core.
particular LDR change.
Urban core
that would-
incentives.
Yeah, whatever they want to call it, that would make this one, and it would kind of set a precedent for any future thing going forward, that would make it more compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. Make the
agree.
development more compatible with the surrounding neighborhood.
All right, that okay is a recommendation to go along with the favorable recommendation? Okay,
Was there
all right, that's fair.
And also mobility fees somehow, because we can't continue not supporting our infrastructure with development. And again, like I was saying, I think we're getting into a situation where whether people want to recognize it or not, we are not required to, where a lot of these things are not requiring parking. And we're going to run into a situation where we're not going to have parking, and you're going to have an older population that's going to need cars. And I'm sorry, but there's got to be something that I think that the commission can take that up as well, if y'all would be amenable to that.
Well, it's Scott's motion. Do you
Yeah,
want that
yes.
included? Okay.
And can we also put in I just wanted to be considerate about the drop-off and pickup points. I really
Yeah.
don't want a negative traffic impact on the, so that needs to be also included as part of the design review.
Right.
So just to be clear, on the mobility fee, are you suggesting that the full amount of the mobility fee apply, or?
I think it's something they can discuss. I think that we're getting into a situation where, let me just give this as an example, if I may. We have a budget that's almost $1 billion, and we have 80 some odd thousand residents. Well, in comparison, Fort Lauderdale has almost double the amount of residents and the same budget, and they make repairs to their infrastructure. So I'm not quite sure what they're doing that's different, but we have to address that, and I think mobility fees, I think impact fees, people are going to develop in Miami Beach because it's a desirable place, and we've got to start doing something, and I think that's something the commission can consider and should. And I think would you be amenable to?
Yes.
To that as well? Okay.
All right, that's the motion on the table.
And
Do I have a s-
requiring the parking in the garage for this project. Because
Okay.
there's no parking.
All right. Again, these are recommendations. Obviously, the commission will take them up and make their decision. So, Deborah, you got all those things?
Yes, so
Okay.
let me just repeat them back, to include design guidelines for projects that take advantage of these incentives, for the commission to further consider waiving the mobility fees, whether or not the entire mobility fee or a portion should be waived, to allocate a location for pickup and drop-off, and to require parking for the project within the existing garage.
And to consider that for future projects as well.
And for future projects. Okay?
Is that good?
Okay, Elizabeth seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Okay, thank
Did we-
you.
We did both together, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, thanks, Nisa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. All right, we're adjourned until January.
Wow.
Happy holidays, everyone. Enjoy.
Happy holidays.